Welcome to episode 4 of Untitled. I'm Strong, it's Salah, and for the first time, we've got a guest, head coach of Giants, a man who the people in the European scene will know very well, Pipson.
Welcome hello guys.
To Pipson. Let's just get straight into it. So we're going to go for our usual regional roundup to start out with, and we're going to get our little table up here. So, starting with APAC this week. Full sense versus RRQ, 2-1 to RRQ. We'll talk about this more later. PRX versus Global. Actually, this was the first time most Santiago was the first time I actually played against PRX. Pipson, you guys played them at Champs, right? If I remember correctly.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
We were in the same group.
Yeah, they're an interesting team to play because they're so fast, but they're also... I feel like there's stuff you don't realize about how PRX play, like with regards to how to use ults and how they like close out halves and stuff. Like you really don't get a feel from just watching them.
I think it's really hard to prepare to them as a coaching staff. Like what I mean by that is it's really hard to prepare your players for that. They actually have to play it and they have to feel it for the first time until they realize what is PRX actually.
Yeah, I mean, I was shit scared of us going up against them during the run. I definitely thought we'll face them at some point uppers and we'll just lose and we'll probably beat them the second time. But yeah, it's and that's kind of. I mean, to be fair, we actually did better than I expected at Santiago because we should have won that first game and then we won the second one, and then we fucked up on the third one. But yeah, they're always a difficult opponent. 2-0 this week against Global. Big thing.
I'd say this was a thrashing.
Yeah.
Sorry to my boy Frost, but this was like not even close. This. I haven't seen a game like this in a while where it just felt like the other team was bullying the other team, you know? And it was kind of like, you know, when PRX is good is when everything they do just works. I mean, you guys have played against them in officials, you know this, like everything they do just works. And you don't understand, like you have this feeling of you don't even know what's going on, kind of, you know? Like you have no feeling of what they're actually doing, and that's what it looked like. And I was having like PTSD watching this, to be honest.
Well, that's the hard thing with them. They're really creative with how they use ults and with how they use stuff late rounds, and it's really hard. Like to be fair, it's almost worse when you're playing them in a long game. I feel like because if they just snowball on you like they also did on Split, kind of, I guess he did on Pearl, even though they only got 4 in the first half. When they just snowball you, that's one thing, but when you get to like this round 9, 10 and a half, and they're just suddenly doing complete bullshit with ults that you've never seen before, and like they've somehow found like unlocked one way to beat you, or like on round 22 or something like that. That's what's really annoying about playing against POX, honestly. But yeah, obviously just destroyed Global here. The comps are a little interesting. Pacific, I think, got the Waylay nerf patch this week only, which was like a whole thing, right? PRX both not playing Neon or playing Waylay right now. They're going to Jet. I feel like this is them preparing comps for... This is almost them preparing for how they're going to probably have to play at London. They're going to assume they're going to get there, I think, and yeah, Jet, I think makes sense to be fair. This is kind of my read of where the meta's going.
I mean,
go.
This was also what kind of I said last few weeks, that PRX, for them, it was like so easy to just go to like Phoenix Jet or Raze Jet, you know? They've been playing this for years almost.
Yeah.
It's like their bread and butter, so it makes sense that they just go back to that. And I mean, this time, for example, you saw 2 different variations where it's like one is with the Sky, which like, I mean, Pipson, this was a comp you ran a lot as well. I remember even in like Old Giants or G2 with this like Jet, Raze, Sky, Viper, Omen. This is a comp I remember you playing a lot as well specifically. But then on the other map, for example, they had a bit of I would say a newer variation. And I think this is like a really good meta read, which is the Jet, Astra, Phoenix, Fade, Vise. And I think the Phoenix is a super interesting part, and probably we'll talk about later, obviously, right?
To be honest, I don't know. Like, I think they played Phoenix before it was Meta on Pearl. They played Phoenix in Lock-in in 2023, if I'm not mistaken, because when I was there, I think they played it. They played it in 2024 when it was like every time when it was Pearl, Jink was playing it. I feel like, Jink is like insane. I think on like 2 agents every time. It's like Race, obviously. Like every single time he plays Race, and every single time he played Phoenix. No. Like, I'm pretty sure he played Phoenix before quite a lot. Like
on Pearl, especially, I think you're right that he has been playing this a lot.
Like, he has been playing Phoenix from time to time, even when it was not meta. Like, he was playing Phoenix, and it's just working for them, especially right now when Phoenix is strong. Due to all of these meta things, like it's really, really good for them. that they already have the guy who has been playing it for quite a long time.
Genji, obviously, 2-1 over, 2-1 loss to DRX, closed and expected. Genji, we expected to blow up for stage 2, they already blew it up. Kite in, Sync's out with the injury, Foxy9 completely released from the organisation. Technically, they could have made it into playoffs after this. Nothing to play for, so I think they take months of wire because of course they did. Yeah.
One thing I noticed, I don't know if you guys noticed, but it doesn't feel like it's been that long since Genji made a Lambda. It's been like a few now, no? Like it's been rough for a long time.
I think last time was EVC.
Maybe, yeah.
EVC was the last time they made the international.
They made Toronto, I think, and since then it's been kind of quiet. I mean, I guess it's only 2 lands really, but I mean, they did not make kickoff that year, I think, if I'm not mistaken. So it's been like very up and down for a long time now. Yeah.
I mean, to be honest, like Shinji, I think they played really, really good in general. Like when it was a bit of like their meta in 2024, I guess they were probably, for me, they were like the best team that year. No matter like the results of champs, like they were the most consistent team. They were probably the best team, like in the way they played and the way they approached everything. And they showed actually a lot of interesting things when you were spectating their games. And after that, it was like slowly going worse and worse. So I don't know, but I think that it's actually sad to see because before I always thought that Genji was actually like insane and they had like a really, really good games.
Yeah,
I think it's I remember the meta read in 2024 was like around. It was us in Vitality. We had a few, but they were the ones who like kind of pushed like the double smoker meta, yeah? Like they were the ones who like played it everywhere kinda. And it was like really, really insane how they were playing this. And I think they kind of tried to stick on for it for too long, and now it's just hard, you know, because it's not really the same as it used to be, obviously.
And yeah, DRX still just really, really good. I think KRX, whatever they're calling them now. I think legitimately, I think his KRX team might be a top 3 team in the world at this point, going into this next LAN. Like they should qualify.
To be honest, they are always good.
Yeah, they're always good.
Yeah, they were good last year as well, weren't they? Sneakily,
they are
like,
always good.
Yeah. I mean, like
when you remember that DRX was actually, you would say, oh, they are actually really bad. I think they were always really good. Like no matter what was the time, what was the roster, it is similar to Fnatic, right? No matter how many star players they will change, how many star players will retire, who will be the coach, they are still gonna be insanely good until I think there is a booster. So
yeah, I mean the only question mark with them obviously is, I mean, Mako's been on a lot of different teams now. He never seems to be able to really get it over the line. But to be fair, it's like it's esports. Just unlucky stuff happens sometime. I don't think he's really holding those teams back. But yeah, they just. I mean, like we were playing. Obviously, we got them at champs, and our assessment of them was basically, now these guys are better than they look. Obviously, they're technically the 4th seed. They're probably better than T1. And obviously, they took us really, really close, and they make that massive run at champs. But yeah, they get kind of overhated, I think, just because people don't like Termi, I guess.
I think since Buzz and Stacks and these guys left, I think they've kind of just gone under the radar. Like no one really realizes they're good, to be honest. Like until they come to a tournament, they're 3rd, but then no one really notices it or says anything really.
Yeah, I mean that's the problem. It's in esports. You have to win the whole thing, or people don't care.
Yeah, because reality is in 2024, I think they went champs, right? In 2025, they did Bangkok. I think they did EVC and they did champs. They were like qualifying to almost every single tournament now.
Yeah.
Like, but everyone is still thinking that, oh, they are not that good or something. But the reality is that they are insanely stable team who is like consistently good throughout the full time in Pacific with PaperX. Probably like, not probably, 100%. It is 2 most dominant or like achievable teams who ever achieved something. So by organization. So I don't know, like people are not talking about DRX, but reality is that they are insanely strong, and they showed the meta in champs, this mosquito meta with the first team who started to do it with like Whale Race, Whale Jet on every single map, on every single screen, which I think made them deep run in champs, to be honest, because it was hard to play when they started to do it first in champs, and we were playing a lot of scrims versus them, to be honest, and we saw how they were actually evolving with this comp every time, and they were getting better and better.
Yeah, I mean, for obvious reason, we didn't scrim against them at champs, but we played them in the official, and it was just like it was an uphill battle to adapt to them on the fly, essentially. But yeah, I mean, people underrate this anyway in general in Valorant. It's unless you're Fnatic, for some reason people understand that okay, Fnatic going to like every single LAN, the consistency there is like amazing. It's like a testament to what they're doing. Every other team, people like really underrate the consistency because at the end of the day, the hard part is almost getting to the LAN and yeah, like you obviously there's more that goes into it in terms of being able to execute when you get there, but there's always an element of luck, there's always an element you get shafted. Like people underrate the important consistency. But anyway,
I have a question for you guys.
Yeah.
Do you guys think Fnatic was the best team last year? Because I've thought about this a lot. They were the only team. They came second in every 3 tournaments in a row.
Yeah.
No, like EWC and Toronto.
Yeah,
and
they did three times second. But kickoff Fnatic always play bad, so
yeah,
I don't think we can judge kickoff.
Is that them being the best team in the world, or because they don't win one of those trophies, that it can't really be counted as the best team in the world? Because they were the most consistent, right?
They were the most consistent. I mean, that's the only thing that holds me back is they felt really easy to play against in the final, but that might have just been me, and that might have just been the team that we had. That's the only thing that makes me kind of think, okay, how good they were if we were to pick them apart by that. But I mean, the results don't lie in that sense, right? I mean, they were always up there. So I think. And who else would be the candidates? I mean, NRG obviously.
If we talk about consistency, it should be them. It should be them, the best team, because I remember EVC. I think they were leading 2-0 and they got reversed by Heretics. They were like champs. Yeah, they like it was opposite that they had insane comeback like on Abyss and the stuff. So they actually played insane games every time. And yeah, probably stability wise, they are the most stable team. Like, but you know, like this is all the time the life of esports. Like, no matter how many times you're going to be second, no one will remember you, right?
Yeah.
So no one will tell like, oh, they are so good. Like we are discussing now because we are looking from a little bit of other vision or other perspective, because we understand how hard it is in reality for any team in the world to tell that, oh, look, 3 tournaments in a row in Valorant, I finished second. It's actually insanely hard.
Yeah.
And we have to praise it, but people as a mass media are not looking on it as a big achievement or something.
Yeah.
100%.
Yep. Okay, moving along. DFM 2-1 over Varel. They have something going there, to be fair. I mean, the Kadya guy, he's the best Japanese player by now. He's better than me, in my opinion. He's playing center, having a huge impact on attack. He's going to give them a real chance going forward. They're not going to do anything in playoffs this year because they're on this stage because their other players aren't particularly good. And Varel, I don't really know what's going on with them, to be honest. At this point, it's just step up from tier 2, not been very good. Moving swiftly along. T1 2-0 over Zeta. T1 look incredible. They've just got an amazing meta read, I feel like.
They look insane, to be honest.
Yeah. They haven't been tested in this group is the thing we have to stress, because they've played what? RRQ, DFM, Zeta, and Varel. DFM, Zeta, and Varel might be, to be fair, 3 of the weakest, like 5 teams for franchising there. At least Zeta and Varel. And
I think that, the RRQ one was only the really legit win there, but it's also you can only play who's in front of you, you know?
Yeah, but to be honest, I think DFM and Varel, they had some really close games maps, no? They had some overtimes, something like that, like 13-11 overtimes.
Something like that, yeah. But it's... Oh, let me double check this, actually. So I'm remembering correctly.
I think it was close games.
Yeah, it was close maps. I remember now. They had the 13-11 on Haven. They had the 15-13 on Pearl, which this was genuinely very close. They should have lost this game, honestly. These ones weren't particularly close. These ones weren't particularly close. Which, like, to be fair, we're talking really like 2 close maps out of the last 8, and they've gone 8-0 maps. So
that's true.
It's still, it's... Yeah, you got something?
I think just on the meta read topic of T1, I could be wrong because I don't watch all of the games. I just catch what I can, but I think they're one of the only teams I see that consistently play double duelist chamber. There are some teams, for example, that play single duelist chamber, like Na'Vi and Heretics were doing this for the first 2 or 3 weeks, for example. There are teams that play this, but I haven't seen a lot of teams playing double duelist chamber, and they alternate. Basically, if they have a Phoenix, they'll play Sova. If they have a Sky, they can play Neon, for example. And
I mean, they play on Haven, but it's more so they're playing like... I mean, they're playing like the Chamber Killjoy comp on Pearl, for example, which is really like surprisingly good.
Yeah, for example.
Yeah.
their meta reads just seem insane. No, it seems like they're fully committed to. To me, it seems like they were one of the teams that realized basically what we talked about at the start of the podcast, Strong, or the first 2 episodes, where teams basically they don't know how to replace Yoru, because basically for a year Yoru completely ran the meta and they didn't realize how they need to change him, so they tried to just like put Waylay in or put Raze in or put something like this in, and they realized it didn't work, and then they tried to put Chamber in because people weren't playing flashes, and then again that didn't work. But I think they're one of the only teams that realized that and kind of have every comp for this basically, you know, and actually thought about these things.
Yeah, but I also think that everyone is started to take Chamber, at least like in EMEA, with the idea that it replaces Yoru not in terms of defense rotations, but in terms of that everyone used that in attack. They play like, oh, Chamber outlaw, solo walk somewhere. Like, he's super free, he doesn't need any utility, he will give us so much info, it's impossible to punish him, and then we will decide what to do. And I saw that a lot of teams started to play Chamber similar, especially on Heaven. They're just putting some TP towards window, and he's solo picking A every round, and if he has the space, he has the space. If he doesn't have the space, he tells, okay, I baited out all the utility guys, like, let's play, like, they are fighting A, we can do something, and then you can play around it. So I guess most of the teams were actually looking into replacement of Yoru as a Chamber, not as an idea of a defense fast rotation, but as an idea that I can attack solo, take space, and no one can actually do anything to me. It's impossible to punish me, and I will provide so much value in attack, even though it's like pretty underrated for the regular people of like, oh, he doesn't really have a lot of utility to provide for me in attack. But just the ability of consistently like walking and not being able to punish and taking space for free without opponents sometimes knowing about you, which makes it really valuable. And at least I felt that a lot of, for example, Na'Vi, I feel like that was their main idea of attack, how they play. They consistently give like Philu operator in the beginning, and he just solo walks somewhere on Chamber every single round.
Yeah, I mean, this was if I remember correctly, EMEA was like by far the region that picked the Chamber up the quickest in terms of that sort of stuff, and it makes sense because it's almost like how teams were playing Ice at some point in Haven and shit, stuff like that with regards to how they played on attack. So it makes a lot of sense, yeah, that it's the attack value and the ability just to say, go do that shit. And also, to be fair, it's a case of we're talking about attack utility, but I mean, look at the comps right now. I mean, people have also we're seeing like so much of Zero Sentinel and stuff like that for obvious reasons because it just sucks. So therefore, and like we're just seeing like single initiator. So therefore, relatively speaking, like the fact that Chamber has no utility, people just aren't focusing those sites and stuff anymore. So it's just like a lot of stuff I think that goes into it. But the one thing we're a little bit worried about is like a lot of these tier 1 comps do seem to rely super heavy on the Neon. And I don't know how that's gonna go. It depends basically what post Neon nerfs it looks like in playoffs and in for London and all that, whenever we're gonna get the nerfs. So that's a little bit of a that could be the thing that they just do really well this season. They just will split regular season and they go and disappoint at the LAN again. But that has been the case a lot of times for T1, to be fair. But it's to be fair,
a lot of teams will change. Not change, but I mean the power rankings will change so much after the new nerf in general. Like there are gonna be teams or people for whom it's gonna be much harder to adapt rather than others, and I think it's pretty obvious for a lot of people that there are gonna be like big changes in terms of power ranking when the Neon is out, because Neon is it's unplayable agent. I don't know. It's like too much for this game. Too much for this game.
Yeah.
Cool. Do you have any names, bro? You have any throws to go?
That's why you're instigating.
It's fine.
That's good.
Okay. And the last one was of the week, non-shim Team Secrets. Team Secrets somehow take a map off non-shim. Don Kratcher just doing a Koi versus Vitality because of course they do. But the series wasn't close anyway. Moving on.
Yeah, Team Secret have almost been a nothing team, haven't they, for a while?
Yeah.
I think from the beginning, no?
Yeah.
I don't remember Team Secret being really good. Maybe when Invi had a prime, no? When Invi had a prime and Team Secret. I remember I saw his icebox something like 37 kills or something.
Wasn't there a time where they qualified to a LAN? Or maybe 2?
They made the champs in 21. And
I'm living in the past. I'm living in the past.
You're very much living in the past.
I don't remember them doing anything from franchise era.
I vaguely remember the 21 thing because they did like surprisingly well at that LAN. Like they didn't even knock anyone good. They just knocked out like the Japanese team, which was crap, and they knocked out
Vikings with Sadhak.
Yeah, Vikings with Sadhak and Sassy. So That was like their crowning achievement, basically. But that was.
It's been 4 years since these guys have been good, huh?
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Yeah, I think that I don't remember last time I saw them, and
I mean, to be fair, it was kind of the same thing with Furia, where the last time they were good, I think, was 2022, and then he suddenly came back. So maybe 2027 is Secrets year. Who knows? Okay, moving on to Americas. So, Lev versus Envy, 2-0 for Lev. This Lev team is so good. Like, Sato is great, Blows is great. Yeah. There's not much.
They're legit.
There's not much
I
negative
mean,
to say about this team.
I watched that game and I feel like Lev was just much stronger. I think Envy won both pistols combined and they got 13-4, if I'm not mistaken, something like that. Like, because I remember this Neon Phoenix, and they are like two best friends with each other on the map. They are every time like double showers, double short, double long, double hookah, flashlight everywhere, and on defense, and they are just fighting them non-stop, and Envy has no answers to that. And I don't know, but they looked good. They looked good. Like, to be honest, they look also individually really, really strong.
Yeah.
Like, Blows is insanely strong. Sato is insanely strong. Then they have the guy on Neon, I think Spike, his nickname or something. He's
Spike.
really, really good as well on Neon. Like, I don't know, it's like it feels that they are overall that they are in a really, really good.
It seems like they made a perfect
they are really
roster.
strong. Yeah, it feels like they're really, really good in general.
I mean, something to emphasize here for people who weren't in NA scene, like, this team was hyped up going into the season. I keep having to say this because the perception on this was weird, because obviously they played with a sub at kickoff. They weren't expected to do well as kickoff as a result. But inside the NA scene, like, people were kind of hyping this team up as this should be a top 3 team, because King's always been a very good IGL in terms of the technical side of things. Like, the one bad season he had in NA was basically when he was not IGLing. I think he got moved off of it by Rossi, I believe, on Lev. And all these players are like very hyped up, like young prospects. The one question I have going forward, like the one thing that could be tricky for this team, is Spike, because there's like a weird thing with his career where he basically, because he sat out all of 2025 because of age stuff, essentially, because he was too young to play VCT, he was on 2-game. He kind of hasn't played a lot. Like, he's been like kind of a Neon one trick almost as duelist. He was like a Sentinel player when he was playing Ascension. So if he has to get off of Neon, there's possibility he might adapt worse than people think. That's like the only thing that these teams got going against him, I think, in any sense, and even as like a little thing. So yeah, they're going to be good. It's like the one thing I feel like could maybe cause problems for this team. It's just that, but it's fine. And that MV just look. It was interesting because they looked like okay last week, and they just don't look. Yeah, I don't know what's going on there, honestly.
Yeah, this MV team is interesting. I said it's just, I don't know. Do you have any thoughts about this team, Pipson? Because for me, this team is just,
I don't really. I think a little bit of Euro nerfs killed them a little bit. No, like I remember I watched the first game they played, I think, in after the Euro nerf, and versus Loud, I think, or something, and it was really, really hard for Exter to play.
Yeah.
I don't know how good he adapted right now, but it's just overall feels weird a little bit. But the only thing I like about this Envy is that finally we can see that Demon 1 is actually still has still can kill people if he's playing as a second duelist or like a second person, and he doesn't need to do this space for the team. He's still there to being able to compete individually, and like he's still insane. So this is, I think, the good part about it. But yes, like I think it's just really rough for them.
Yeah, I mean, the rough thing also is like the only good maps X has had off Euro basically were on Phoenix, essentially. So it doesn't fit with what you want Demon 1 to be doing as well. So I think something's gonna have to change there. We'll see. Moving on, G2 Loud, 2-0 for G2. This was never going to be close, to be fair. I don't think G2 have looked bad. Like they've looked a little bit shaky at times to split. Like but they've never looked. I don't think they've ever looked as bad as people kind of think they have. Like, they were still taking space quite well. Venom was still doing a good job IGLing from what I could see, and got what I understand of how he sort of works, basically. And then you play against a Loud team, which is just in disarray. They still haven't used Batty as the IGL. Their basically playing for Split 2, and they have been playing for Split 2 since they lost to NP, essentially.
I will say though, this was a bit too close for my liking because both maps were super winnable for Loud, and it was almost like G2 just kind of won because they were a better team, if that makes sense. They're better players. Because if you look at kind of both maps, they're down actually in both those maps, and then they have to mount these massive comebacks on basically the other half.
I mean, it's never a massive. No, to be fair, it's never a massive comeback. Like, were they behind?
I think they were leading both maps, no? Well, because I was watching the game, and I think they were leading both maps.
The worst.
Like they were maybe losing pistols, but
yeah, the worst. They
lost a lot of pistols.
They lost 4. They lost 4 pistols. They didn't get the ecos back. They were down 8-6 on Haven, and they just reeled it off.
Actually, considering they lost all pistols, this is actually not that close. If you think
because
about it,
in reality, if you remove these 4 rounds from Loud on Pearl, it would be 6, and on Heaven, I think it would be like 4 or something.
Yeah,
like by rounds they won.
No,
so I don't know. G2 is good. G2 is good. Like yes, they maybe lose some games. It's same about like Energy. Yes, we can say that they were like losing some games, but they are good. Like it's just simple.
Yeah. Furia versus Crew 2-0 to Crew. I feel like people might be overhyping Crew a little bit because there's like a lot of talking about them being the best team in the league, best team in the world. They are good, obviously. I kind of suspect Furia is just a really bad match. Have a bad matchup into them because of how Furia rely on stacking up on defense, playing 4-1, how they call attack, where it's like a little bit. It's not the most fluid thing. Feels like it's hard for Arts and Quad to sort of fix that stuff. I think Crew are solid, but I'm not on the hype train with Crew being like the best team in the world or whatever the hell it is yet. We'll see come playoffs, I guess, because they're not locked.
I don't know, mate. This is still LATAM domination, I think, in NA. These guys just run NA right now. Like, I mean, obviously Crew beat Furia, but I get what you mean in the sense that they are interesting. They're one of these teams that maybe can fall off a lot in playoffs, but right now they're playing good. Like, for example, I managed to catch some of that, some of the Lotus game, and it was just they were running super like sad hack style, basically. These fast plays with a lot of splits, a lot of these things were just super sad hack style, and it looked really good. And it looks like they all believe in him. I don't think they're necessarily the best team, but it looks like they believe in what they're doing, kinda, you know.
They've definitely got that buy-in. This is how good they can be, you know.
Yeah.
But I also think that the meta of double duelist really fitting super good to really aggressive regions, let's say like that. And I do think that LATAM is a really aggressive region who really likes to take a lot of fights, a lot of individual plays, similar to Pacific region, for example. Like, and I do think that the idea of running these aggressive compositions actually fits them really good. Playing fast tempo, running it down, a lot of maybe like small set pieces, the things like that. I think it's overall like meta really favor them, and I wouldn't say that the meta is like favor for a regular EMEA or NA team compared to LATAM or Pacific in this way right now.
Yeah, and Furia, to be fair, I would characterize Furia as like not so much of a LATAM team as well with how they play. They are a slightly more traditional team, I'd say. They do kind of have a problem right now where Koala Noob is not looking as good off of Yoru because he kind of like the whole way he was playing at kickoff, and he was playing super like he was taking space really aggressively, essentially, and just like sitting on that space and like they let them play the entire map off of that, particularly on defense. He can't do that anymore unless he plays Neon, and they're not giving Adam Neon away to him basically. So he had to play Omen, he had to play Phoenix. He just doesn't look as good. They have holes to fix. They can probably figure this out, but they have some holes to fix, I think, on that front. But yeah, moving on again. NRG versus 100 Thieves, 2-1 to NRG. I mean, obviously they
looked a lot better from NRG, I would say. Like, I mean, Breeze was just blowout, right? I guess the interesting part of this game is Mada on Harbor. I would say like that's the. But I actually kind of respect that he is brave enough and they are brave enough to play it in a way there, because it's not a lot of. I mean, not a lot of teams that will do it. Like, would you play Ara on Harbor, for example? It's like one of these things, you know. Like, it's such a weird. Like, when I saw it, I almost didn't believe. I didn't realize what I was seeing, kinda.
To be fair,
but it's also I think because they have Keiko.
Yes, also.
Like, if they wouldn't have Keiko, I don't think that Ethan would go to play Duelist or someone else. So, like, or Scuba,
Yes.
I don't see it like that. He can like do the similar things in terms of taking spaces, even if he's like insane player. But I think Keiko is just the ability of having Keiko allows them to experiment in certain ways. Because I don't think also that they were. They also knows that they were not winning games, right? So they maybe have to change something. They are trying out things and the stuff like that to make it back. So I think Keiko allows them to do it.
Yeah. I mean, the Harbour thing is interesting in particular because it was something like I was pushing them from the moment the agent got reworked. You need to play this in solo queue because at some point this is going to be really, really good. Like I looked at the kit basically, I looked at Shield, all that sort of stuff, and like, yeah, you need to try this. Kind of makes sense that it's that Madder's the one to pick it up because I think you need to be like it's a weird thing where you need to play it super aggressively. I feel like it's like halfway initiated almost in a lot of ways with how you have to play it, use the shield, all that sort of stuff. I think it's. I don't think we. So obviously, it's difficult for me to talk in general about this because they unfortunately did have me in for 2 days practice before I got cut. So I obviously have seen stuff in terms of comps, in terms of discussions that I don't really want to relay. But obviously, we didn't have discussion on Breeze specifically. So I think that was mostly like an Adam thing. But like Harbour has come up before. But it's been a while in the preparation, basically, on that regard. But yeah, they played it well. To be fair, I think 100 Thieves kind of just got caught off guard with it as well. They didn't like that. Isn't a team that seems particularly great at adapting to teams throwing them a curveball, which is like a concern, obviously, going forward for them a little bit. But yeah, they looked. They looked better. They looked a lot more solid overall.
Harbour is really, really strong right now, and I do think that this wall, like high tide, I guess it calls, like the ability correctly. Oh, it's impossible to go through it, to be honest. And at the same time, I think it lasts for 15 seconds, and the smoke lasts for like 20 seconds with a recharge of 30 seconds. So he almost like every single time have something. And on the late timing, if someone put this wall, it's impossible to cross. I'm sorry, but it's impossible to cross. If someone holds it, you are automatically dead. Like it looks like that it's such a small slow, but in reality, just trying to run it out, it's impossible. Like you just look on this wall and you're like, I'm gonna kill them all.
Yeah, I mean this was like we did experiment with this a little bit very early on after the rework as well. Just because I mean the big selling point there is just the shield, like the smoke is up perpetually. And that seemed like even like forgetting anything in terms of how the smoke works with the shield, how you can exploit that, all that sort of stuff, that just seems incredibly strong on its own. So we did try it a little bit. It wasn't. The meta wasn't ready for it. I mean, there's an argument to be made the meta's not really ready for it now in general as well, to be fair. That's like a whole other discussion. I mean, people have been... it's a weird thing with Harbour. I think it's just he's... In isolation, he's super, super strong. It's just... How does he fit against other meta comps and all that sort of stuff? And that's like a map-by-map basis. But yeah, obviously worked out very well for them there. We'll see if they're able to continue. We'll see like what they continue to throw up, basically, because obviously I think they know they have to keep innovating. They're not in that position anymore where they're... they need to keep innovating. 100 Thieves, obviously, unfortunate thing for them. To be fair, this 100 Thieves, it could have been a 2-0 to them as well. It was very close.
Lotus,
Yeah.
They won the first one.
Yeah, one on Pearl quite easily. One on Lotus, basically.
Always the anti-eco, man. It's always when you win this best one, lose anti-eco, you lose everything, kind of.
I mean, to be fair, they were down at that point, yeah. They won the anti-eco, won the next 4, and then they got.
Oh, they won the anti-eco. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah,
my bad.
Yeah, and then
okay.
Yeah, basically.
But how does it go? I didn't follow a lot of games, and how does it go for Timotino without Wele? Because his Wele was really, really scary on like kickoff, and I remember that he was really, really good on Wele. And like everyone was saying, like, oh, probably you have to look Timotino. He's like one of the best Weles, like at least in the EMEA. So. But I don't know how it goes for him.
I mean, statistically, he's not been great. I mean, in terms of his gameplay, he's been fine on other agents. It's just like he's gone from, he's like changed, like he's looked like really, really good. So he's like falling off a little bit. To be fair, I think he's a solid duelist, but he's a prospect still. His Phoenix hasn't been amazing. To be fair, I think he'll get. Like I remember from scouting him for potentially getting him for 2025 for 2026 season. his Rays and Jet and like those agents have always been really, really good. His Neon's also been, I think his Neon's pretty good historically. But like Phoenix is just like something he isn't vibing with. Yeah, so it's
But
the
I
way
think
they
it's
was like a big thing for him, but that wasn't like that. It wasn't like, oh, he was just a whaler, like he just was just a whaler guy. It was like something he picked up coming into 100 Thieves basically almost, and then just made it work super well for a short time.
I mean, what are you saying? He's like he's insanely good on like movement agents, right?
Yeah, pretty
Like
much.
who just needs to get space and the stuff like that. And Phoenix is like it's just different agent.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
like it's a duelist, but it's not
Initiator
it's
kind of
it's
also.
like, yeah, you cannot make it like that. Oh, I will play solo Phoenix and suddenly he will enter the side. It's like impossible, right? So you need to have someone who will still do it, and it's just you need to have, I think, a little bit different traits for having a really good Phoenix player. And it's more about, like, for example, I think something like West Side Purple style, like having insane mechanics, like having insane shooting, that you know that the guy will enter for you, you will just flash out through the smoke and like suddenly kill like 2-3 headshots, like no chance, and the stuff like that, rather than getting space, because it's just different ways of like getting and taking space and actually using the space given for you to make the kills, you know?
Yeah.
So that maybe this is one of the things why for Timotino it can be a bit harder to play if he used to play like on Neon Whale Jet, like the things like that. So
yeah, makes sense. Moving on. EG Sen, the last game in the week. I mean, EG played this a little bit closer than you'd think, to be fair. It was that wasn't the last game. We're going to talk about the MIBR and everything later.
EG is almost the team secret of NA, no?
Yeah, I mean,
just...
well, this is the thing. EG's rosters they put together aren't horrible. They're a lot more. They expect to be a lot more competitive, right? They're picking up players who, obviously, they're generally not the bigger names. I don't think it's a secret that EG work on a pretty tight budget, so they kind of get what's left of like tier 2, but they build rosters like decent synergy. They've got like a couple of names in them. They've got like decent players in there. Like on the current roster, for example, you have basically the
Bomb, Superman, Bao, Oculus,
yeah.
and DG's in.
Yeah, so like obviously people love DG's in. He has been a pretty good player in tier 1, just not amazing. People like Superman are people. I think people in the pro team like Superman in NA more than people outside sort of realize. He has been very, very good at times. He's also, to be fair, he's also old for a pro player as well, though, which doesn't help. But yeah, the Bao, the Okeanos, decent prospects. But yeah, it's just hard because I mean they're going into a very competitive region. It's just they never put together a roster that are really competitive. I mean, to be fair, they nearly had that run to that one time to play Toronto. So they haven't been completely uncompetitive like the entire time, but it's just they've not really come. Apart from this, where they were like one map round away from qualifying for LAN, it's never really been too close. This was like they got screwed like a bug kill or something, I think, as well was like the thing. But yeah, I mean, Sen had a good series as well here. Cortesia just had another good series. Like he's really important to this team. I feel like just he's just doing the traditional sentinel stuff where he's really good at entering, really good at finding basic pathings and stuff to expand space for someone on the attack and just puts them over the edge as a result. Redux is looking more and more comfortable as well. Their Haven looks really, really good, to be fair. We'll see how deep their map pool goes. That's the only thing, because Haven will work to them because they have basically, he can play Omen, he can just drift around, do whatever the hell he wants, just basically focus on his gun, which is how Redux is best at doing. He needs to focus on his gun. He's that sort of dude. And then Cortese can just find timings, can just find space for them, and they understand sort of how to play that map out, basically. Other maps we haven't really seen too much from Sen yet. Obviously, Bind they nearly lost. Like they had to come back from 11-11. Not come back as such, but they will be taking close the entire map on their pick by an EG team who, again, we've said they're not bad, but they're not amazing either. They're like the glue team of this region. I kind of feel like there is a possibility, though, because like Fury have a high priority on Haven, this Sentinel team could go 4-1 in this group. It is really, really possible because they.
Still hard to say because it's still hard to say because like the wins they've had, like the 100 Thieves win was quite good, and this one is quite decent as well. But think I need to see them against. Like, I want to see them against G2. I want to see them against. I mean, Fury and NRG are going to be interesting.
Fury is the big test case for me because that Fury team is obviously good. Has a pretty bad map pool, I feel like, in Sentinels because Fury love Haven, and I feel like that's Sentinel's best map. Yeah. And then obviously NRG we'll see. And that's going to be probably the game that decides who goes into upper bracket from that group. So that'll be interesting. Like, even if they lose the Fury game, I'm pretty sure that'll be the case. So that will be interesting. Just cut here.
On to EMEA now. All right, so for EMEA, we all agree not talking about GX just didn't happen. No. So moving on from that one, go on, Shang.
Yeah, I mean, I had a great series to be fair, but yeah, we're not talking about that one. Okay, EF versus Pacific 2-1 to EF. I mean, Pacific got Apex. They're just Apex again. It's not they don't have anything good going on that team. I mean, people forget this. Apex were like almost the entirety of that year. They were like every series like a 1-2, like a close 1-2, or like a. Like they took a map off of them. Didn't really take them series close generally. I think they only had like 11-13 last game against the KC series, I think, where they nearly do it on Lotus. It's not they don't show anything. It's just you just like no, they're not going to win at the end of the day.
Yeah, I'm going to predict Pacific is going to win their next game though, because each game they're getting better because they start giving a fuck less, you know, because they like basically as it sets in how the season is going, and you know this Pipson as well. Once teams don't care anymore, bro, they become fucking demons. So this Vitality game, watch a Q-Put masterclass incoming, bro. This is going to be like the best Valorant we've ever seen, basically.
But to be honest, Pacific are not that bad. Like, for real, they are not bad at all. Like, they remind me even more, like, I wouldn't even say Epics. They remind me more of Gentlemates when they were consistently getting 11 and losing the game. Like, that they could push anyone to the limit, but somehow they don't find a way to win. And sometimes it happens. Like, to be honest, it happens with the teams, and it's just, it can be like, a reality is that all of us knows that there can be a difference of like literally that you play 1% better and you are going to get to LAN event like literally like this, you know. It's like people think that there is like wow, this team is like 5 times stronger than the other one, but reality is a bit different. That like technically if Pacific played every single game, maybe like 2-3% better, like that's it. They could be like right now 4-0 in the group, you know, like so I would like it's something is missing. That's the thing, and you just have to find out what is actually missing, because in reality they can push everyone to the limit and they can play the game and they are dangerous for everyone.
I think they might be a team, as harsh as it is to say, that's like one roster move away from being, as you said, like really good, you know, or like actually getting these wins, kind of. So it happens with a lot of rosters where it's like one little thing, one change in how they approach things, one change in how they think about things, and it can just change completely. I will also say 7 has been insane, no? 7 is actually really good on this team. Like, he reminds me a lot of, I'm not sure who exactly, but he is just good, I think.
Yeah, it's like I see here like 11-14, 10-13, 11-13, 11-13, 11-13. They are literally missing a little bit to make it like to make it work.
Yeah. Yes. Moving on.
So Na'Vi versus Liquid. 2-1 to Liquid. The comeback experiment is not working, which isn't really surprising. I mean, like, I get it again from Na'Vi's perspective. It's just they're making the best moves that they can, trying to get the best player they can under the circumstances. It's weird, obviously, if you've got this like long-term standing thing. It's a weird status to put on somebody. Yeah, it's unfortunate.
I will say though, this is like the 3rd week where Na'Vi on first map are like dominating and then just get destroyed on the second half. Like it happened against Gentlemates, and it happened against Heretics as well, I think, or whoever they lost to before that. It happened against Foot as well, where they are just winning and they're playing good, and then just something happens. I'm not sure what, but like something happens and they just forget everything, kind of. Like if you look. And it's happening consistently. Like this is another team like Pacific where they're so close, I feel like, to figuring it out, and then they're just a little bit away.
They started out all 3 maps super well, which, generally speaking,
This is sign of a good coach, or at least
Sign of a
like
good
decent
coach, yeah.
coaching.
Yeah. So like
Is if they're
like Angels probably doing good work over there, but I mean, again, I think it's just a difficult situation because you have the roster's been in flux, you're having to make these changes, and you have to make changes on top of the changes. You've got an IGL who's obviously having to adjust again to a very different culture, very different language barrier, all this sort of stuff, right? Kind of impossible.
They still have a chance to make playoffs, yeah? It is as simple as...
Yeah, it's basically...
Heretics lose, they win, that's it.
Yeah, Heretics lose, they win, that gets them in. But that's...
Okay.
But Heretics are playing last week, so very,
which
very
is possible.
Yeah.
Well, it depends. That's a sociable, like, how petty sociable is about getting kicked, you know? Like, is that, if, you know, is sociable going to basically decide whether Na'Vi make playoffs or not? Because they're guaranteed
honestly, regarding Na'Vi, I actually liked how Comeback looked last game, like compared to before. So what I mean by that is I liked how he looked in attack, not in defense. But if I look on his attack on Split and Lotus, he was actually, I think, a really, really crucial part regarding how they played. And I think even if you will open up the stats, he became much more aggressive. He became much more free. And I felt that it's the first time. I think he played super poor bind, but like Split and Lotus attack, he was really good. Like, and I think that he felt really much more free than he was before. Yep. It's the first time I saw him standing up on stage and saying something to the enemy team. He felt much better, and maybe it will work out because usually before we saw Comeback in the roles of a little bit like baiting roles as a duelist, you know, that he will not go in, he will play more like a chamber, all of that stuff. He will not get the space, he will play a lot of operator, all of that things. But right now he was playing, even in BBL Pacific, I watched a lot of BBL Pacific, and it was mostly Rosa entering on Sova. And he would stay on Jet like device style in CS, you know. He would just hold the angle, make sure he kills, make sure he will be in this last situation and play it. So maybe like this approach a little bit from Angel, that he asked him to do it and give him this freedom, and maybe also believe in him, which allows him to have this freedom and like standing up and the stuff like that, will help him to do better. And maybe Na'Vi will show even a much better game on the last week. So at least I liked from what I have seen in terms of changes from Comeback, because it was noticeable changes compared to how he played before.
Really good point. Yeah. I also did notice the standing up thing, and I think also the previous week, I think on which game was this, Gentlemate's game, I noticed there was a lot of moments where you can tell he's not coming things, like, and you can tell as a coach because you can see that another player is not reacting. For example, I remember a situation where he's holding an angle and another player is basically facing away from this angle, and he backs off the angle and the other player doesn't turn around. He acts like there's no one there, basically. And this is obviously Comeback is not calling this, right? Whereas this game against Liquid, it felt a lot more like he was getting more comfortable in some ways. And he was, as you said, more up, more energetic, and he wasn't sitting there, you know, kind of upset.
I think that he played the Chamber, no? The first game versus Gentlemates, and then they gave him Neon. So, and they swapped with Philo.
I think this Neon has been a lot better with him too.
It's quite funny. It's quite funny if it's the case that both of the teams basically tried him on Chamber and screwed their entire thing up, and then both of the teams went to Neon separately and just fix everything. No, I mean, I remember, Sally, you remember this, like when he was like first on the come up, like his first big LAN tournament was that Turkish with Pacific, and like he was just. I remember we watched the game like he played, and I think it was like the first quarterfinal game, and like he had like a great performance, and like afterwards he took his shirt off, and he's like putting his shirt around on the thing, and he's just like taking photos of it. It's like, yeah, okay, this kid needs some. He needs
his ego.
Yeah,
he needs his ego. He needs to be able to play like he's the best, basically. And he didn't feel like the best for a long time. So for him, he needs to basically. If Angel is convincing him that he's the best or making him feel that way, then as Pipson said, you can see it in the different things he's doing.
Yeah. I mean, Liquid's still looking pretty good.
Just Liquid, nothing amazing, nothing. They're not dropping. They're just winning games.
Cam had a really good game here. To be fair, we'll see if he keeps out going to playoffs. I mean, there was like a whole interview, like Liquid Coach Lohan this week, where he was basically saying, "Yeah, we've kind of got to internationals before on the basis of gimmicks, and therefore we've imploded the internationals because the gimmicks stopped working. We don't have the foundation to build on." So I mean, you can question how good the identity is, and you can question certainly how good it's going to be in coming into any meta shift, right? Because they are kind of very set up for this meta, but yeah, seems like they're trying to build something there, but not much.
I really like Liquid. I think that Camo is insane. I don't know, like Liquid is a team which is like Camo was not insane in Koi, but in Liquid he's insane. Purpo was not insane in Giants. In Liquid he's insane. No, nuts is nuts, right? So like no matter what, Mini Boo, like old, like again, it's like a old, like it's just a Mini Boo. Yes, like I mean, he's just like getting this space. He's so confident, aggressive. They are playing insanely confident. I think they have like insane job not only by the gimmicks but also the amount of support and freedom they provide to their players. Probably because all of them are confident, and Camo, I don't know, like he can play any role, any meta. He's like, I can be Fate, I can be Phoenix. If you want, I can be Yoru. If you want, I can go on any role you want me to play, and I will do it good. So I think Liquid is really, really strong, and I don't know, they're just good.
Yeah, the only, I mean, Wayne's been not performing amazingly, to be fair, but I mean but not everyone can get kills at the end of the day, right? He's not been bad. But yeah, they're looking good. I mean, it's just how the only thing that worries me is how well it will scale. But I guess to be fair, like the meta's not going to change away from how they play too much for this next tournament.
And they were doing this in the previous meta as well, no, last year. So it's almost like they will make it work.
Yeah. Okay, moving on. Obviously, we're not talking about Fnatic Giants. Foot KC. KC win a map again because this team can only play Haven. Literally, they can only.
Pipson, you can back me up on this. Isn't it the weirdest thing ever that the only map they win is Haven when it was permaban for Eng for like 4 years?
I mean, it is same for me. It was permaban all the time, and the only map I'm winning, I think, is Haven and Split. Like
it's just crazy. Like it's the most surprising thing ever. I mean,
to be honest, it's just I think for some teams, like for example, us is like meta is really rough. Like I have to put Westside on like second duelist and the stuff like that. I don't have a dedicated second duelist at all. Like who should I put? Like Cloud, Flickless, like Grubinho. Like it's actually really, really rough. In this way, so like okay, you come from Cypher into playing like I don't know Phoenix, Waylay, Yoru, like whatever. Then you have to mix it up. Like okay, Flickless, you go do this, then like so you have to adapt. Like somewhere it's working a bit better, somewhere it's working a bit worse, somewhere it's like the player feels the map like much better. You know, like on for example like Cypher, and somewhere he is going on the map and he's like, I actually have no clue how to play in lamps. Like it feels really, really rough for me. And the stuff like that. So I do think it's kind of maybe similar with KC a little bit, but like that it's like that they have to go like Dosia on Neon on certain maps and the stuff like that. So maybe it's also partly the case. But I noticed that they were for throughout this stage, I think they were the only team who didn't want to play Neon. And it was actually, I think this was actually biting them throughout the full stage because I don't think they are that bad, like as it looks like. But especially playing screens versus them, I think they are actually good. But I think they were really the team who doesn't want to play Neon. And I still don't understand why. And the only map I think they were playing Neon from the beginning was Haven. If I'm not mistaken, maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, they weren't playing it on. I mean, they played Jet first week even.
Oh yeah, so and then they switched, yeah, and they started to win every Haven. So like, yeah, but I don't know why they didn't have this like perception of playing Neon because I don't think I don't know if like Dosia or Loon cannot play it or something because it looks like they can when they started winning. So maybe last game versus Na'Vi we are gonna see I don't know this combo on Haven like Phoenix Neon every single map because I saw that versus Food they also played it on Lotus. So maybe we'll see it on every single map. Maybe we'll see Leviathan combo on Bind. Right, so it's like Phoenix Neon. Like it's just every map. Let's go Phoenix Neon, and we just play, and maybe it works. So
to be fair, on the Neon thing, I kind of understand the mentality, which maybe leads to not wanting to play Neon because I know. I know a couple of teams, not going to name names, who were like very visibly trying to avoid playing Neon coming into stage 1, and the reasoning seemed to basically be it seemed to come down to essentially. if you're playing with Neon, it never looks clean. Like it never looks like you're playing optimally, and some coaches, some like players basically look at that and they get a little bit worried because like, well, this is all very scrappy. Like I'm getting these kills, but it feels like bullshit almost, right? And I mean, I think that there's sometimes a little bit of ego involved to that. I think there's a little bit of it's not the right way to think about it ultimately, but that probably explains why there was some. And obviously, Eng's teams obviously always played very, very perfect, right? It felt like. I think maybe.
But let's be realistic.
Yeah.
The game is in the state that that it's like we didn't have someone dominating for like, okay, there is an era of some team that he's like consistently winning every single event. It's every time changing. It's every time random. It's every time a bit not perfect. And it's normal. I feel like it's like super, super normal. Like there were a meta of Chamber, which was also like, it's really, really not perfect way of playing, where like there were meta of Jet insta dashing, where was also not a perfect way of playing, impossible to punish anything. You think Yoru was a fair play and you can play perfectly when it's impossible to punish this agent like at all, no matter what you do. I can flash stun, rocket him, ultimate him, he just press one button and he disappears from my screen and I cannot do anything against it. Like I don't think it has like we should thinking about playing perfect in the game.
You have to embrace the bullshit, honestly.
Yes. If it's bullshit, you just go for it. That's it. Like we did the same thing with Yoru, like that we didn't have a dedicated Yoru player and we didn't play it in kickoff. And even though we lost like close games to Liquid and Gentlemates, like all of that stuff, but I think it's our bad that we didn't play Yoru, because after that we started to prepare Yoru. We prepared every single map with Yoru and it got nerfed and we never showed it, So and then we have to rework everything 2 weeks before the stage.
I mean, this as well as a coach, there is always a lot of like, sometimes you don't want to believe something is good until it's like a little bit too late, and then you realize, fuck, like what did I do? I was like this with Chamber, for example, for a little bit. Yeah,
it's just our bad. That's it. You cannot do anything. Yeah, with Chamber, for me it was opposite. I remember Chamber meta was I think in G2 and we played literally like Mixwell Chamber every single map, Like
for me, I was like, I didn't want to believe this character has to be played every map until it was too late, basically.
Yeah,
you will not see it on this G2. It has to be different one.
It's that one, isn't it?
Yeah, G2 inactive. Yeah, and I think we played this like Chamber almost every single map, like no matter what. And I think we created this icebox meta when we played like Chamber Killjoy. I don't remember what else we played. Something like
Sage.
Chamber Killjoy Sage, yes. And we were just staying like on defense with Chamber back then had 2 traps.
Yeah.
And we had like turret, alarm bot, double trap, Sage. We know everywhere where you go, like no matter what. And we just like stay for people somewhere, and it's super hard to play against it.
This was the worst meta. I remember this.
I remember that. We were like, we don't need duelists, we go Chamber, that's it.
Yes.
We just attack A 12 rounds in a row, like slowly walking on A.
In OG, we were doing the same, where we didn't even play duelist, we just played Chamber. Like there was no reason to play duelist, kind of, because this guy just existed, basically.
I mean, look at that Ascent comp down there. Chamber Sage, versus Chamber.
Yes. It's just we play Chamber literally every single map, and same I think we did in Reykjavik already, like that we played it every single map. And sometimes it is like that sometimes you don't want to believe in certain things, or you are like, I actually don't think it's that strong. It's just these guys is just really comfortable playing on this agent, that's why they are playing it. But actually sometimes I can see teams not going for certain things because it's just they cannot do it with their players, or their players are uncomfortable doing it. And let's be realistic, everyone says that we have the big off season. But the reality is that certain times, like for example, between like kickoff and stage 1, like the meta changed again in the middle of certain things. Like after Santiago, the meta changed, right? So you don't have that much time of preparation in reality, because after Santiago, you got like what? I think I remember I read in Twitter that Yoru is nerfed. And I remember I counted, we had like something 17 days or like 16 days before the first official, and you are like, okay, I actually have to rework everything, because right now the game is different. I don't have fast rotations anymore in defense, so we have to build completely different protocols of how we play defense. Okay, oh, actually, I don't have a flash in default on defaults on attack anymore. If I go for something else, okay, how do I play it? We have to rework everything. Your Sestra's not working because like anything of the, okay, I have to pressure, teleport away, insta attack something, like fakes with Yoru. Nothing of that is working because you don't have anymore this long teleport and you have to rebuild everything. Sometimes you don't have time that your player can learn to play something super new for him. If it's like especially different role, like we can see that someone can start struggling after Euro nerfs that he cannot play on Phoenix, even though it's like becoming a bit of meta. For someone, it's different thing. So I do think that it's a little bit of these things that not everyone. In reality, we have a huge off season, but they don't tell us that okay, this is going to be the meta, and you have five months of preparation, or like 2 months, or like 2 months of preparation. That is like okay, yeah, I can tell my guy who was Sentinel that he have to learn Euro for 2 months. He will spam it every single ranked. We will play every single screen. We will rewatch all of that things, and he will learn how to do it.
I actually think this is also why you see, like as you said, they always do this every year though. For the last 5 years they've been doing this, where before the split it's like a week, 2 weeks, something like this, always nothing more than this, where they
like
change the meta completely, and it will always be the biggest meta change possible. And it's why you see teams come in with like comps and they're not even finishing the split with this even remotely the same comps. They're changing between the week because
during split you're like finding out, oh, actually this is much better than what I was thinking about. Let's go for this one.
And I also think like one mistake I always made, for example, was that I tried to figure out the meta like correctly, like slowly as you do, like you actually try and incorporate the new things rather than taking shortcuts, right? And I remember there's a lot of situations where if you just take a shortcut, and like PRX playing Jet Rays full comfort, this is so much smarter than just trying to fuck around and figure out whatever it is, because you will do better on the comfort than whatever the meta is, because no one knows the meta anyways.
I mean, the thing with shortcuts, I mean, this is, we've fucked ourselves in split 1 or in the kickoff last year because it was Teo meta, right? And basically our entire thing was like, okay, we think Teo is super, super powerful. We also kind of like, we tried it on a couple of maps. We kind of got off of it a little bit quickly, like more quickly than we should, basically, because the players we had at that time was like, they had one bad scrim basically, and they cry about how it's not good anymore. There's that sort of mentality, which is difficult when you're trying to put new picks in. But one of the things we identified essentially was, okay, look, Breach Teo is incredibly strong. This isn't going to scale out too well, honestly, over time, most likely, because it's kind of one-dimensional, but it is super, like one nerf Teo, even if it doesn't kill the agent, it will kill Breach Teo. And so we didn't play Breach Teo. And obviously, like, first week, we famously get completely rocked by a team. I think Xenon were playing Teo, and we weren't playing Teo, and we just get completely rocked. It just sets our entire season into disarray, basically, after that point, and everyone, we through kickoff, we fail out of kickoff, everyone gets kicked from the team, essentially, right? But yeah, this happens over and over again. And this is like we made like a very deliberate decision this year. Like we weren't even going to try to pre-plan the meta. We weren't going to try to anticipate it. We had like a general feeling it's probably going to go to double duels. It's probably going to go to something like Mosquito, which it kind of did in the end, but it took a little while. We basically said, fuck it. We're not even going to worry about this. We're just going to play like, we work on fundamentals. Just going to play like whatever picks we're going to play until like mid-December. Then we'll start trying to figure out comps, and then we'll start trying to incorporate stuff. And then we're open to change that during kickoff if we need to, because we don't obviously have enough of a picture. But yeah, it's a important point. I think moving along, like last EMEA game,
Vitality VBL.
Yeah, I mostly saw Haven from this game, to be fair. Salah,
what do you think about Bridge?
Okay.
So Salah had like a massive rant about this last week.
Yeah, I like, so I don't think Breach is like a necessarily amazing agent right now, but I don't think BBL should be playing it. It's very specific. Like I don't like, they said it's comfort to them. They said this actually this week, right? That it's comfort for them.
Yes.
And I can understand this, but it's like, it shouldn't be comfort, it feels like, you know, because again, they should be good on this double duelist stuff, and they should be the team that I think that has the possibility to play these agents, right? I mean, with Lovers Rock and Loiter for sure plays, not Loiter, sorry, LaRock for sure plays Phoenix. He can play it very good, actually. I don't understand, for example, why they still force it, but if it's comfort for them, it's comfort. However, I will say I turned this match off when Vitality were like 11 rounds or whatever they had, because it just looked unwinnable for BBL. I didn't see how they actually came back. Maybe one of you guys watched it, but it wasn't good up until that point either. Unless they...
It felt to me more like Vitality being fucking awful at defense, basically, than BBL doing anything special. Like,
Okay.
Lover's Rock did pretty decently in terms of like just basically finding holes, picking apart stuff, essentially just playing Jet like you would a chain for almost, I think, half the time. But yeah, this was far more Vit's L than BBL's win in terms of that massive comeback, from what I saw anyway.
But to be honest, I can see why BBL is saying that Breach is really comfort pick for them. Like, I think Strong, if he was like preparing for us on champs when we played against each other, he probably saw how we were utilizing Breach, and it was not about like being passive with Breach. It's actually about being actually really aggressive with this Breach.
Yeah.
And having a lot of like small ideas or baits into a certain things with this Breach. Which can also lead to this aggressive BBL play style that they can start really aggressive rounds. I think we did it on Sunset, like almost every single time on champs. Like when we played Sentinels, I think, and the stuff like that. It was all about being super aggressive. Which allows, but BBL is the team who likes to be aggressive. You know, like so. In these cases, it's just like I can see where it comes for them to being a comfort zone, because if you see how they play defense, they either play really aggressive or they play for full floats everywhere, and they are just having like one cage, one smoke, stun in front, and they just run out 5 people everywhere. You know, so like I can see how it works, and in reality is that right now what they were doing good in attack is that they didn't take any space using their stun. So, which allows this Breach to have so much impact on Exec that every time people were fully stunned, and I think he had 15-20 assists per the full map. That which is a lot with Breach. He had more assists than Loita on smokes. So he was actually really impactful in that way. Even though, again, I don't think that Breach is like insane agent when I'm saying in Twitter, right? And I have always said it that I don't think he's like insanely strong. But I don't think that this is the agent who guarantees you the auto lose because you play Breach. Like, I think it has certain things only in certain teams, in certain play styles, in certain ways, on certain maps.
I can 100% agree with that, but my issue with BBL, and I'm not sure if you would agree with this, is BBL, of course, like we all know because we watched them for 2 years, they were insane in Tier 2, and we always knew they would be good in Tier 1, yeah? There was no doubt about this almost since they were good. But for me, the moment that I said that actually, okay, now they're a top team in EMEA in the world is Kickoff, because they proved kind of, okay, they can not only be good, but they can beat best teams. They can beat Fnatic, they can beat the Vitality, I think they beat in this Kickoff. And the important part about this was that it was, first of all, Lover's Rock, Loita, and Larocque. It was these 3 who kind of not carried, but like they were leading the team in this thing. And it was, you know this, Pipson, the third man, second man, third man concept. It depends a lot on how players do, depending on what they're going in. If you look at Haven, Loita is playing 1-7 first kills, first deaths. Normally, Loita was basically playing for clutch situations and flanks and being able to basically, because Larocque and Lover's Rock are basically this 1-2 punch where because Larocque is not playing Breach, he's playing Duelist, he can go in, Lover's Rock plays off him, they're playing off of each other really well. You know, they're making space for each other and then basically trading each other out. And then Loita is able to basically use that chaos and use that space to get, you know, good value. In Kickoff, this guy was insane. He's struggling right now because now he has to be the second guy because there's a Breach. As you said, if they're playing it correctly, it's really good, and I agree with this, or it can be good rather, but they're losing basically what made them, in my opinion, unbeatable or super good, which is 1-2 punch of Larocque and Lover's Rock. This was what made them good, kinda. If it was Rose on Breach, then I could maybe see it, basically.
But your nerf hit them a little bit that
yes.
That Lover's Rock has to switch his playstyle and he has to play differently. Like, and for that they have to adapt, which is like, for example, I'm pretty sure like Cruven play not during this stage of Kickoff every single map Cypher, even when Cypher was not that good. Like he's just playing every single map Cypher because it's just comfort for him. Like he's playing every map Cypher in Kickoff, and they are playing every map Euro on Kickoff. Like it feels really like that they are really prioritizing that their players have a really big comfort. And I do think that the only actual player who is consistently flex for this team through entire time from Tier 2 is actually Larocque. Because if you will take a look, Larocque played Bridge, Larocque played Neon, Larocque played Jet, Larocque play anything. Lloyd are playing only Omen, I don't remember that Loita play Astra that much, but he plays, but not that much compared to his Omen. Cruven play, I think, every single map cipher.
Yes.
Yep.
And then Rose are playing every single time. In these three agents, I think it's only Sky, Fate, Sova. Sova Fate 99% of the time. Sky when this meta become, yeah. And they are just really prioritizing comfort throughout the whole time. And the only player who can flex for them consistently is Larok. All their comps, it's like, oh, let's put Larok on this, let's put Larok on this, let's put Larok on this, let's put Larok on this. All the others are playing exactly the same. So, like, maybe this is what becomes a little bit of or right now that they have to find out how to on what to put Lover's Rock, what is going to be comfort for him, all of that stuff, like on what to how to make it work with Larok. Okay, well, Cruven has to expand his agent pool as well, like from Cypher to like some Vice, Viper, all of that things, you know.
I would want to see them play this Phoenix Neon. I mean, unfortunately, Neon's getting nerfed now, but I would have liked to see them play Phoenix Neon. For the next meta, it's hard to say what would be good, but I would want to see how they work with the Phoenix and basically Lover's Rock on second duel, this Loito on Phoenix, because I think that can fit into how they were playing in kickoff. With basically, you know, also how Larok is, he's really good at Phoenix, and it fits, as you said, that style of Phoenix player you need, where you need to be able to play basically to shoot good and have really good positioning and have really good basically entrances, you know. And I think they can get value from this.
But I also think so. I also think so.
Yes.
But BBL, I also think, is the team who's like in attack, at least when we're playing them, like every time they are like trying to tell you the story. Like what I mean by that is that they're having the game plans. Like, let's say I will start first 5 rounds towards C. Like I will have, like, for example, what I mean by that is like I'll have a top smoke C, top smoke on C, yes, like, and then I will attack straight C through this smoke, like pop through the smoke. The next round I will do the same smoke, retake A, come back to C. Then I will do this thingy, fake retake A, C split. Then I will do smoke on top C, do something else. And then mid-game, they will switch this conditioning to something else, and they will start telling you another story, like, for example, with something towards A, you know? So, but I do think that this requires a big preparation. And I don't think they are the team who can flex like this, like every single week with the new comps, according to the way they play the game, which requires them a bit more of preparation, pre-plan, and pre-talks. Even though I think a lot of people think that BBL is like running it down, playing random, but the reality is like actually super different. They are really, really structured team when you watch how they play. And I do think that it will just take a bit more time for them to being able to find out what is actually good for them. And right now they just went back to like, okay, what we played in Tier 2, this one, it's comfort agents for us. Yes, let's go. We know the game plans. We know how we can play around it. Let's go.
Yeah, I think playoffs could be a very, like, now that they've qualified, I think that could maybe be a good way for them to have time to basically figure out their stuff, you know? Now, onto the Vitality side.
I mean, it's not great, is it?
It's
a lot of the same stuff we saw last week from them as well, where their attack isn't terrible. Their defense is just horrible. Like, they had basically... Let me get up the stats here.
It's an interesting point, actually, that I didn't really think about, is that I can also kind of see it that if they do basically it's in your hands to protect us from this situation where if they do qualify, then they just go on the EG run, right?
It can be easily, like, these players can do it. Like, and you all know that they can do it. And like, if someone will tell to you that, oh, they cannot do it, no, you are capping. Like, it's impossible for you to tell me that Derke Sayonara Chronicle, like these guys, like cannot suddenly qualify to an event, and you don't believe in it. Like, they can at any time. Like, and we all know it, and they proved it to us so many times. So, like, yes, they were. Maybe it's like I can speculate so much. Maybe it's just pressure. You know that they were like a super team. They have to dominate this Valorant, and it like pressure on them so much that it doesn't work. Like, I don't know. Like, literally, no one knows until we are gonna be inside the team.
Hello, Strong here. For our performance and for our match of the week section this week, I had like good stuff prepared basically. Pipson had to pop off early. Salah also had to hop off relatively early. I figured, like, I know some people really like these sections, so I figured probably the best thing to do here would be, rather than just cutting them entirely, get them solo. that give you an idea of what we're sort of talking about. Would be talking about. Hopefully you enjoy. If you want to skip over, we do have all three of us talking on the section on the map of the week, which is the Gentlemates, Gentlemates versus Heretics on Lotus. But performance and map of the week is going to just be me this week. So let's get straight into it. Our performance of the week: Vic, C9, MIBR on split. This game as a whole, 2 overtime wins for C9. Biggest upset of the week of the split by some measures. I didn't see this coming at all, to be honest. I'd like to pretend I did, but very surprising. I'm going to look at this split in particular here because I think it's really interesting. I think it kind of tells us a lot about what we're dealing with. Like, how did this happen, essentially? So, MLBR comp, they're running Neon, Raze, Fade, double duelist, usual stuff around it. C9 also running double duelist. They are running the Neon, Raze, and they are running Sky instead. Rest of the comp, basically, yeah, it's just Omen, Viper. So standard comps. On C9's side, they were playing Vice before, so they're playing single duelist. They just switched Vice out for Raze after last week. I think this is a smart adaptation for where the meta's going. As I've kind of said, I don't think Neon nerfs take Neon entirely off of the table. It will slow down games. It will make Raze and Phoenix extremely important in these new comps as we go into playoffs, as we go into London afterwards. They C9 also running Ice on Breeze, for example, a little more out there, and there's like a lineage going back there with Fnatic's ISO usage on both Breeze and other maps. It's the same principle though. Penny on the Raze here, I will say he only had 3 first kill, first death involvements his entire game. A lot was being put essentially on Oxy here on the on the duelist on the Neon, and yeah, so let's get right into it. So C9 start defense. They win pistol, pretty predictable with the bonus, all fine so far. And then we get into the first round I've got highlighted here. So I want you to look at this round. Pretty please. Look at how aggro they're playing on both sides. So Oxy just straight up runs down here. Go back into the round. So what this timing is, not straight off barrier, but literally pushing onto there. The Skydog. These two are playing on this side. They're playing very, very close. They're also creeping up into the lobby at the same time as he's creeping up into the lobby. Oxy's kind of doing all the stuff that gave us massive problems in kickoff when G2 brought out the double duelist comp against us. We actually call this AW aggression. We call it a bonker because Bonker is very conservative as a coach defensively, like traditionally. For whatever reason, I don't remember why, he basically said at one point, fuck it, we're pushing A, we're just going to throw all the util out here. There's, I think there's a Raze involved or blah, blah, blah. Attack here. It worked out really well in this is a practice round. And it was like an extremely unusual call for him. So when it worked, it just became the bonker. The bonker is attacking a split specifically here, and it isn't generally termed for, ironically, for defensive aggression, because he's a coach who doesn't particularly like that sort of defensive aggression. Yeah, but they never let them get set up, and that's like a huge part of playing like this. And I think it's vital for like teams. It's vital particularly for upset teams, but it's vital for teams playing in this meta right now. And like we go on to the very next round, then they set up this aggression again. They're playing a little bit further off on the other side, to be fair. It gets them this flank here. You can see Dion pushing up here. Vic is playing very well on site here. There's a reason why I picked Vic for this rather than Penny. You can see he's playing, essentially he's playing very close. He gets the smoke out, continues to play close, TPs into the action. Traps from a very small area as a result because they got the 3 of them, 2 of them Rambers. He does die in the end, but Oxy's got the flank. It's all great stuff. Kind of the yin and yang of this whole thing. And this is something that C9 haven't always done well with, potentially balancing out this positioning, balancing out this sort of stuff. This defensive aggression, not uncharacteristic for them entirely, but it's a balancing act that they haven't always been the best at in terms of the relative player positions. And they actually lose this next one I'm going to show you, but it's a great example of what I'm talking about with regards to Vic. Like, okay, Vic's not taking first contact here, right? No point is he taking contact. Like, he's doing a brilliant job of basically sticking to like the closest he can play with it still being safe, sensing when he can and can't peek. Do MIBR play perfectly into this? No, they don't. They kind of, I think they could challenge him a little bit better, like basically skip over, like get straight to wherever he is if they got a feel for his positioning. But nonetheless, he's still in a huge part here of getting their 6 rounds on defense here to make this a game at least, right? We said before, split, you would want a stronger result than 6 on defense. With Map is standing defensive sided right now. But at the end of the day, you played to the conditions you've got. You did lose the pistol in the end, ultimately. And again, we've said that the attack is the hard side of the map here, right? And Vic kind of helps put the dagger in for them in a big way on attack. And like what he's doing is not flashy at any point. So we see here, what he's doing is not flashy. They've got a clean entry onto A here. He's playing this thing. He's playing this backside, just holding this angle, holding this deep enough. I mean, this is like a weird angle to play as well. Well, it's not a weird angle to play. It is. You've got to be confident to play here because you have very poor escapes. If they just swing on you, then you kind of have to, I guess, TP out. But you don't have your side's the wall, basically, right? It's like this is a committed angle you have to play. But what he's doing is not flashy. It's just maintaining space well. He stays alive. He puts himself in position that he's keeping space, but he's putting himself in a position then to get to the clutch situation and win the clutch. And like what he does here, really nice. I think it's a 1v2 scenario. No, 1v1 scenario. So you can start to see here, he's waited on the wall. He's been very safe on the smoke. Aspas waits to overcommit, basically. Bam. Very nice. And to be fair, Penny kind of is doing a lot of the same stuff to an extent with regards to this style where he's not playing super aggressive, but he's playing aggressively enough, and he's kind of putting himself in position to, like, he's getting a lot of value off of them. But it's more impressive for me with, like, this is another round, like Penny is a 3k here and then Vic steals it out. It's very good in terms of the post plant. And like this is a sick play. Watch this, like dodges, gets up, but goes back. He has Aspas' number in this series. Aspas on 20 health. He knows this, obviously, and yeah. He's playing some 6 clutches this game. But I was really impressed with Vic, right? Because I think we kind of forget how good Vic was pre-C9, right? You go back to Moist. He's a superstar player on and Shopify, whatever the hell they were calling it by the end. Superstar player on Moist in Tier 2. Aggressive controller player. He was like a 20 with 5 first kill success in that series, for example, against TSM in, this would have been 2024. Because he comes up at the same time as a lot of the other Tier 2 players, essentially, that had been kind of always in Tier 2, always on the fringes of playing in Tier 1, hadn't really played in Tier 1, hadn't got like a shot in Tier 1 for every reason, just because of how NA works, I guess. Yeah, because he was basically locked to Shopify Black the entire time that they were in Challengers, Moist X Shopify, which then became. And obviously, this is characteristics. 64, 44, 9, like heavy participation for his role. Him and Brook play like a wonderful series. I mean, they were still playing Lotus at that point. Mada has a pretty stinky season. Flyer has an absolutely awful series, and they, after a very strong year overall, not dominant, I'd say, but very strong at the very least. They go out in lower finals. They go out like one stage, I think, short of. Yeah, they win that. They go to the LAN and they go to Ascension, and there's a good chance they win Ascension. But TSM kind of steal the spot from them, as it were. And we forget how good Vic was basically in Tier 2 for the entire time. And he's never really been able to. It doesn't feel like last year when he was overshadowed by the other rookies coming in, right, from Tier 2. And it never felt like he was really able to get on the tempo of how C9 tried to play around, like play historically, obviously with Mitch's IGL, how they would try to play around Oxy as well, where it's a lot of like staying hyper grouped and just relying on Oxy to get space on them. I guess, I mean, I would need to go back through more VODs to check. We kind of felt like maybe Vic didn't have much of a chance to play late contact or weak side in whatever was happening last year, and that limits his game massively for a player like that, who obviously has shown a lot of strength, a lot of aggression, a lot of playmaking ability in Tier 2. But this was a really good series from him. It was a really good series from C9 as a whole. I don't know if they can keep week to week, to be fair. I think this is hard hindsight, because again, I had no idea this was coming. I don't think anyone did. There is an argument to be made that MIBR is maybe a perfect matchup for them, just like, for example, Fury were set up to beat MIBR in kickoff compared to either G2 or NRG in a best of 5, in my opinion, just because of what made them good and sort of how they play the map, how they play stacks, all this sort of stuff. What I'm saying, like MIBR and C9, perfect match in that regard, because MIBR play very, like C9 are basically staying up very, very grouped. MIBR are trying to play very default, trying to play very sort of smart in terms of how they're playing. They don't do stuff, like they don't take risks, they don't do stupid stuff. It's a little bit of a weak argument, I guess, to be fair, but I think there's an argument to be made there that maybe this is just a poor stylistic matchup, just like we've seen again and again. Another example would be PRX into Gen G in Pacific this split, right? C9 have Loud and G2 last 2 games. Loud will be scrappy. I would be shocked if they can beat G2, to be honest. I don't think that is a good matchup for them unless G2 really drop down a couple of levels. They'll probably go 2 and 3, which I think they get 4th seed of that most likely. It's like a very even group at the moment. But there's definite bright spots to be found here. And to be fair, one thing I did notice actually when I was doing the research on this, which I think is really interesting about C9, is they have like this mad record since the start of the season in 1-score games. So 1-score game here, it's a term borrowed from, I believe it's from American football principally. A 1-score game is basically a game where the margin of victory is less than a touchdown in American football, which is 7 points. NRG were famously incredibly good in ones, and it's in Valorant, this is a 13-11 on overtime. Where it's like, okay, you win more and more rounds, you take it to overtime, or you win more rounds, you keep this going, blah, blah, blah. NRG were famously good at this during Champions run. We were like 11 and 11, like over the course of Champions 2 into Santiago, we were like 11 and 2 or something like that in 1-score games, like a massive record. And I think it does say something good in terms of your IGLing, in terms of your composure as a player and all that stuff, if you're winning consistently in 1-score games. And this is something now that C9 have a 7-2 record on. So you go back to the start of kickoff, win 13-11 on Abyss, win this incredibly long overtime one against Envy, win this long overtime against Split, lose Corrode, lose my Pearl, then win Split again, win Breeze, win Split. It's not a hugely extensive record, but it is like significant, I think. And this is the thing, this C9 team, when they get close, they seem like they deliver on these things. It's either they get close, they deliver, or they get completely blown out. Either way, right? And obviously the blown out part, that's not good. But it does make it interesting because it does make you think, okay, if this team gets a little better, if this team can hang later into games on a more consistent basis, that's the difference really between being like a literal bottom 2 team in your league and actually being like 4th or 5th and potentially competing for at least one international spot that year if things go your way, right? The margins and stuff are fine, but that is like the I think with the Zelsis change, with the stuff they've made this year, and with like Vic and Penny sort of finally starting to gel, there's something there. It's not a huge amount, but there is something there. Okay. So, map of the week. Still have Pipson here for this one. Gentlemates versus Heretics. And we're talking about their Lotus. I don't know why we're picking on these 2 teams. We keep reviewing these 2 teams, I think. We reviewed their mate last week now on Haven. But whatever.
Yeah. This game was super interesting to me because this game was 2024 kickoff, KC against Heretics. And it makes sense because Lotus has been like kind of in and out for a while, yeah? Like since 2024, it's been kind of not in more than it has been in. So it makes sense. And the first thing is Koshmaris looks insane right now. Really smart for them to put him on Neon instead of Chamber. I think that's changed everything basically for them. I like that they've switched to the double duelist on Heretics side instead of trying to force the Chamber like they were a little bit earlier. I think Woot as a duelist also benefits a lot more when he has a more aggressive duelist with him, and he can play a little bit more, I don't want to say baity, but a little bit more of
like
that.
Like second duelist, basically. Like we were wondering about who...
Same as he would play on Phoenix. You want him to play on
Phoenix. Exactly.
We were kind of wondering about who would basically be Mini Boo 2.0 in this team. It looks like it's going to be Koshmaris rather than Woot.
Yeah, you have to have it for Wood, and I think it's already shown with comeback that if you just like it's just I do think that Wood is shining insanely when he's being this second duelist guy, and overall the
Yes.
full team is playing so good when they have the space and they know how to use the space. So the only thing they are like actually need is that someone give them this space. So Rien's Wood, all of these guys will be able to play the situation which already occurred in front of their face. Rather than them have to create the situations for themselves.
Exactly, and I think so. To just kick it off, what I meant by the KC Heretics games from kickoff is we saw basically. And how KC were playing is we saw M8 doing a lot of gamble pushes, basically. And remember this, like these pushes where they're going to leave one side for retake no matter what, and they're going to have one guy who's going to basically play fake aggressively. He's going to try and just get info. He's going to play like the deeper lines. He's going to try and basically puff out his chest. If you remember, Magnum was doing this a lot actually on KC. And on the other side, they're basically just going to do a trap play, or they're going to run it down on C, for example. And if you remember, they had these really cool hits where they would, Omen TP into here, they would blind from here, for example, and they would push out with this. And KC are running a lot of these. And on the other side, Heretics are doing a lot of their set plays that basically these I want to say one-step hits where basically, they're going to come out A, for example, with Neon very quickly with this like cross wall. They're just going to run and then basically swim across this. And if they get basically the indication, if Booth thinks that he can just carry on this, he's one of the IGLs that I see that will just carry on. He's not going to try and fake, and he's not going to try and do this extra shit, basically, right? And it looked really good, and it looked pretty simple. There wasn't too much extra things. The interesting part about this game was that every single time, and the reason I think Heretics basically just flawless the attack almost was because of the way, as you said, how they were playing with the space that was then created. When you saw Koshmaris, for example, come out into these deeper positions, or a better example is actually on C, where they got into C, for example, M8 playing retake. Once they were onto C, they were super, super good at doing this. I like to call it messy gameplay. We called it tiki-taka, basically, where they would fight one angle, and then instantly just always be juggling between the two choke points. So, and it looks like basically, they will come CT, they'll use util CT, they'll take a peek. They don't necessarily need to get the kill, but they won't overcommit to this fight, or they won't undercommit. A lot of teams, for example, they will push into this and overcommit, or they will push and then it'll go all the way back, right? Or just play a really passive post plot. What they were doing is, and this looks like Prime Heretics, where they're playing so well with the space, they're pushing into CT. Once they get the CT fight, then they're going to push into here with the flash, and then they're going to come back, and they're doing everything on correct tempo and not allowing M8 to get into the good retake, basically, So M8 are playing a lot of retake, and they're in a lot of retake situations, but they're not ever getting clean retakes. And you know how this feels as a coach when you're watching, where your team is in theory doing the correct thing, but it doesn't matter if the other team is just not going to let you play the game you want to play,
Yeah, I mean,
and I think this is it. Just looked like Prime Heretics.
The point I want to make here about, I mean, Gentlemate's also on the outside did not look good on this defense at all. So there's a round I wanted to highlight. Like basically, this was the round they won, and this was a round which was a good round for them, but it kind of showed. So basically, at this point, the context is 11-7. I think Gentlemates took 2 timeouts in a row to try and fix their defense, essentially. If I remember correctly, I think they took a timeout at 9-7, timeout at 10-7, 2 in a row, or at least there was 2 in a row. So what are they doing on this sort of thing? You just sort of say they take this essentially take this B space, which who really cares? They have to fast rotate into A. They actually win this run and never even win the trade thing, and they're kind of they're playing like this bullshit in terms of how they're playing Mound as well. He gets caught out here first round. I think that first kind of round in the game just gets completely isolated and destroyed super, super quickly. And the whole thing is just super, 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 super weak. It's like you actually end up winning this round of the trade down. It's fine, I guess, but they're not taking space well on attack and on defense, and it's just so easy for Heretics players on attack as a result. And so we kind of see the whole round. Like they basically just the Gentlemates are just grouping, they're just running around. There's like a bunch of rounds here where Startso is just full ISO'd on like he'll be on A, he's just throwing like util, and it's like that shit doesn't work if the enemy team has any idea that you're doing it. Just playing like solo initiator essentially on defense. There's a bunch of shit like that basically. So all it took like Heretics actually lose those 2 rounds after that timeout. But all they know at that point, it takes one good Heretics round where they just speed up into them, catch them, surprise, and jump up somewhere, and they pretty much easily seal the game out from there. It's like, yeah, Gentlemates played bad, Heretics played, but Heretics played good as well.
What were your kind of thoughts, if you had any, Pipson, about, do you... To me, this
to be
felt
honest,
like a classic Heretics game, kind of.
To be honest, I didn't watch the game itself to say what was the exact issue, like to show it to you. But like in general, yes, Heretics is like, I think, the team who has like a really, really specific play style. And the last time I think we played them in the kickoff, and I think before that we never ever like, they were really good on Haven usually, and we found out what like how to potentially you can play against their attack, because their attack has like a really, really specific specific things, which is really, really annoying, which are really, really annoying. But what I mean by that is, if I will have to explain, most of the times, I don't know why Strong is looking into Vitality when I have never coached Vitality, but it's okay. But the reality is that I think their attack is when they were taking space, most of the time on Haven, everyone expects you to do something with this space. What I mean by that is, for example, on Haven, you take A control, and everyone expects you to do something. Either you are going back from A, or you are attacking on A. But what Heretics is doing is they're doing nothing. Like, and this caught so many teams off guard because they don't understand what is happening, because suddenly they just take and they are sitting 5 people on banana for 50 seconds, doing literally nothing with that space. But everyone makes so many mistakes because it's so uncomfortable for you to play. You are like, are they actually there? You reveal they break it, and you're like, oh, they're still there. But then you're like, 20 seconds later, it's actually, are they still there? Maybe we go check. You die. You are like, okay, yeah, maybe they should not be here. They would attack already. Like, someone is like over rotating or something and the stuff like that. I mean, usually it's like not 5, it's 4, and Benjifish is doing something else on the map, yes. But it's like it catch so many people like off guard, and in general so uncomfortable to play because it's so unusual to play. And this is what you said regarding Boo, that, for example, they take space and it's so simple. It looks outside that they are playing so simple, but in reality is that it is simple, but until you understand that they are gonna play like this, it becomes really hard to play against them. Because you are like, okay, yeah, but and what? Like, because when you are usually playing any other team, you are expecting them to do something to, like, okay, it's a fake pressure rate, they are going to insta attack it's this, and they are going to insta do this, they take this space to do this. Sometimes this guy's just not going to do anything, and you are going to make so many mistakes, and you are going to kill yourself. Like, from them, like, you are just gonna consistently make so many mistakes that they are gonna punish you every single time, and their attack gonna look flawless without actually being complicated, And because I didn't watch that Lotus game, I cannot say. But from what you have explained to me, that it looks like that it was actually the simple thing, like you said, it's just the most simple thing, a classical Boo game, which he plays. And yes, it is really, really hard to play against it until you actually understand this have to happen. Guys, if they take A, just stay for A against them on defense. Don't move. Foxy, like, no matter what is happening, you don't care, guys. They are still going to do it.
I think it's a really good point. And I think to expand on that point, you struggle, as you said, when you run into what they're doing. If you try to contest them head first, you will lose against Heretics most of the time. If they're usually playing good, you will most likely lose. What I've noticed works against Heretics, and when teams beat Heretics, or when we used to beat Heretics, was because you have to find ways to disrupt them from a different mindset and a different. You have to basically think outside the box. You can't just, for example, say if they're going to come out A, then we'll make this pretty retake and or pretty, mini exec on this area and full util. They will have a counter for this, or they will be ready for this because they think about this. They're not, they're smart players. They're a smart team. It's more so when you can do, a lot of flanking, for example. I think works really well against Heretics in general. I think a lot of off timing pushes in different positions and different angles actually is what works against them. I've noticed, or at least playing in that kind of, you have to change your style a little bit basically. But if you, as you said, meet them head first, you just lose.
I mean, that's what I was looking at this off camera. I was just looking up because I remember obviously one of like our crowning achievement before we immediately got canned for Vitality was we beat them in a best of 3 in that last split we played with Vitality. And you remember we had to like design like a bunch of stuff with like, I mean, the one I remember we lost that map in the end, but it was the sunset. where they just been
Yeah.
rolling teams over, and it's because of like the way they basically played. I think it's the way they played around like B lobby and stuff like that, and the way they played on the site. And it was like there were ways to beat it, but you had to basically adjust how you were playing quite a lot. You had to essentially have these very specific trap setups and the way you did the wall and all that sort of stuff, if I remember correctly, on Sunset. I was just looking that up basically again. But yeah, it's like yeah, you can't you can't fight fire with fire with the team almost, if that makes sense.
They will beat you if you just play the way they want to play. They will beat you basically every single time.
Heretics is really a unique team in that way. Like it's not even about unique in terms of compositions. They are unique in the way they play the game. Like that's it. Like it's just a really, really different team from EMEA compared to most of the other teams, which makes them really, really uncomfortable for a lot of teams to play. And it's a really, really good thing because they prove that it's this thing works, like not only regionally but also internationally. So I do think that yes, like Miniboo thing hits them quite a lot, like because Miniboo is insane in like taking space, and he's continually doing it in like Liquid on a super top level, and they were missing these things. Yes, they were missing these things, and it has nothing to do with like comeback being bad or stuff like that. I do think that this is the change good for both sides, because I don't think comeback would be good in the Heretics way of playing, at least that what they want from him to do for them. And the similar thing like that, they have to have someone like Miniboo, Koshmaras, who will be just like, okay guys, even if I will play, like everyone was like saying that, oh, if when the Heretics lose, like, oh, Miniboo is not good because they're looking on like statistical part. Yes, but the way that they are unique, it's mostly their duelists will not be like similar to a lot of other teams' duelists. It's just they have to have this guy who will give them space and they will play around it. That's it.
I do think Miniboo was the most underrated player when the Heretics was good, because people didn't realize, like, and you noticed it when Woot was playing Duelist instead of Miniboo, and when Miniboo was playing Duelist. You noticed almost the difference in how they could win, basically. Miniboo would be fine going in 1-7 first kills, first steps. He doesn't care, but he knows his team is going to win because of the way he is pathing and the angles he is clearing and the things he's doing in this. And you know this as well, like both of you know this. A way a lot of teams lose is because I call it making ghosts. They think that basically a situation is worse than it is. So for example, when you're C and they're waiting out C, the reason they are so good at waiting for people here, for example, silently and then going C, is because I promise you, 90% of teams will sit here and overthink and say they're going to be 4-stacked C. Yes. Like they will think this, whereas Heretics has the unique understanding of, and I've heard Boo say this, and I've heard, I know that the Miniboo and maybe even Kushmaris, and I think this, there's not going to be 5 people there. Fuck it, just go. You know, like it just go. I promise you, they will not be free. I think it's something that Weber said to them, and it's a really smart thing because it's true most of the time. Most of the time, the situation is not as bad as you think it is. Basically, like
most of the time, that's what I said, that they are unique. They can seat 4 people there, do nothing for 50 seconds, and still commit on C and win the round. Because the other team will think that there is no way they are gonna attack on C. I know that they are there. They will not do that. It's impossible, and they are gonna do it.
Yeah.
And yes, when you are playing against them, you have to fight your ghost because it looks like it's not normal. They are not gonna attack C. I have fully lock on A. I have everything good. I can stay triple C, 4C. I know that they are there. They are not gonna attack it. They will have to come back. They will have to do this. They will have to open door right now, pressure B, do this, do that, do this. They cannot play that simple. It's not a ranked game or stuff like that. They will do it and they're gonna beat you.
Yeah, it's 100% true. And I think this is what they were missing with comeback. And I think, as you said, this was a win-win move, basically. They like now, and I think at the time it was obvious as well, but now you really see, and it almost makes you think even why comeback was there in the first place, kind of, you know? And it makes sense. You want to basically get the best players, but now you see kind of they need that. Julius and Koshmaris is doing it amazingly, to be honest, as well. He is doing really, really good, and especially off chamber.
I also think that it could be that they thought that, like, everyone knows that comeback mechanically, insane. Like, literally everyone knows that he's super good mechanically, right? But I think that they thought that they can play different style, adjust comeback into this style, and it's going to work. But during the certain period of time, they probably realized that, okay, actually we have our own heretic style through all the time we played, and we just have to go for it, and everything is going to work because they're like, okay, kickoff was not that good. This was not that good. Like stage 1 didn't start really good. So they're like, yeah, but let's just go to the style we used to play with Miniboo and to the way we used to play. And it should work because, like they said in the recent interview, I think Neil Zinio, that like you cannot, if 3 months ago you were good, you cannot become super, super bad. But I think in their mind, the realization is not about that, oh, we were good and we became bad. But the reasoning is that we actually try to play different than what we used to play. So they're like, okay, let's bring in Kashmaras. Let's play similar how we used to play. And we will see if it works, it works. And for now, it looks like it is working. And they are looking much better than they were looking with a comeback.
It's honestly fair play also for making that realization like second game and just changing it insta. Yeah. It's a lot of teams wouldn't do it, to be honest. They wouldn't change it. I mean, even for myself, I think for a lot of time I probably wouldn't have changed either. You try and make it work a different way, but honestly, fair play. And it looks insane, and it looks like Prem Heretics. And I think your prediction strong that they can go on a run from here to LAN is actually looking very realistic now. And to be honest, right now they might even be like top again. If I mean, now we've kind of seen like they beat Gentlemates, which is Gentlemates is struggling since I think the Euro nerf as well. To be honest, I think this has hit them. This is the team that got hit the hardest by this, basically. Like Martin was basically Superman on this character, and to be honest, was doing the most insane things I've ever seen. And obviously, he's not having the same level of performance now. But you know,
he finds himself on Vito, I think, on the same level, no?
Of course,
Vito, Martin, I think same level as Euro, no? Like,
but I don't think it has the same impact for
like,
the team.
Oof.
Yes, I think Martin is insane, but I don't think this has the same impact for the team. And I think their style was very much around the Euro, and I think these things kind of affect it a lot, right? But you're now looking at 2 wins. I think Footballist win will be interesting, basically, for Heretics. I mean, it's a must-win game in some ways for them. Considering, I mean, Na'Vi is not an option. Navi's going to play against KC, which I guess you could say Na'Vi should win this game. So we'll see. But I can see Heretics basically just making a line straight from this run, to be honest. And I wouldn't be surprised, as you say, Pipson. No one's going to say why.
I don't think anyone would say, "Oh, how Heretics won." Yeah, like they're just coming back to their roots, to the Heretics, and it works. They proved it, and if it works, it works. That's it.
100%.
They are still same players. They are still insane players, like Riens, like Giga insane player, yeah, like Wood, all of them. They are like really, really good. So
100%.
It's the same as I think NRG. Like you already qualified to playoffs. Like I think that game versus 100 Thieves was so important because I don't see like 100 Thieves beating Furia plus. I think they play like 2 really good teams.
Yeah, but it basically guarantees them full seed essentially, and they've got.
If
they lose that,
it's just like I don't think 100 Thieves beat Crew and Furia to make sure that NRG doesn't qualify.
Yeah.
So like it's just. And Energy, I do think that they will still do good because they will find out what is wrong, and they're gonna do good because it's just they were just good like all the time.
Strong again. We're now going to talk about RRQ versus Full Sense. This was 2-1 to RRQ, and the thing I kind of want to say here is I'm coming with relatively fresh eyes on both teams, and this is one of the reasons I want to do the segment anyway, because I kind of want to like give you my thought process and give you my explanation and kind of give you my understanding of like how both these teams now look as someone with relatively fresh eyes, because look, I've never played against Full Sense in International. I played RRQ before EWC. I saw the T1 game between T1 and RRQ. I haven't seen the massive amount of this team recently. And Full Sense I just haven't seen, despite the fact that if they were 3-0 before this game, I just haven't seen their games because they've been playing bottom feed. It's all split. Nobody watched them at Soup. They were pretty poor at kickoff. Didn't really. I mean, I think they got like within 2 games of qualifying, but it was like they weren't really going to qualify. I think they left like 3 in a row. It's kind of an exploration on both. So we're going to get right into this. Map 1 for these teams was our good friend Pearl. Just bring this up here. Comp-wise, Full Sense are the only team I can think of that are like playing Cypher on Pearl. I don't think even I'm pretty sure not even the lovers of that are BBR are doing this at this point, right? Leviathan played this on Fracture, Split, and Pearl. He has awful numbers on it statistically on all maps. I kind of got an idea of why this is the case because he's not really doing anything with it. Honestly, he's not active at all. But they like to, like, for example, let me actually get a valor plant up for this as well. They like to do setups like this on Pearl, roughly, where it's they're on attack, they're running around, they'll put like a trip here, a trip here. Like they basically put 2 deep trips, so there can be no push through whatsoever. They put like a cam. This isn't exact. I don't remember the exact thing here, but like stuff like this, basically. They're going to see super passive setups where they're trying to maintain space everywhere and have like this completely free run to run back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth all the time. And they figured you can't really, and like maintain information on any pushes. They figured you can't really do this without Cypher because you are going to get hit at some point. Yeah. RRQ, on the other hand, Neon, Sova, KO, Chamber, Astra. Which isn't a... Obviously, the KO is super unusual. I can kind of see the vision here on Pearl. Chamber's nice on the map. Double Initiator means you can cycle information on defense and clear everything on the tap. It's close in practice to what we used to call, well, very recently called Double Drone on Vitality. Not Vitality, on NRG. Which we tried. Obviously, we tried. I think this is public. We tried to make like Sobotail work on this map, and it just doesn't. I think they're still playing it even. Yeah, I don't think it works very well, to be honest. But I understand how it's supposed to work, at least. Now moving into the match itself, full sense pistol advantage. I want you to have a look at this exec here. So which we need to look at. This is just like this is a 50 seconds. This is like what we would traditionally call a second wave exec. Just look at what you're seeing on the screen with regards to how they're moving. Nice swing in. It's a good kill here. Very good spacing. Sort of take space very aggressively. Previous movement is really, really good. It's kind of not often that you take a look at a take now that Breach doesn't exist and think, oh, it's just a solid take. This is like hard for the enemy team to play against. They've kind of got all the perfect peaks, all the perfect timings, all this sort of stuff in terms of how they're attacking the site. I would say that take was one of them. It was a very good take. Then they get the momentum early. They get to 5 rounds. RRQ finally get a round back by just letting Jemkin basically hunt with his chamber ult, which a lot of chambers do on Pearl. It's like a big advantage of the pick in general. But they nearly lose the next round, even with the opponent just walking up and hitting to 4 people. And it's obvious that Full Sense have benefited immensely from momentum here, but they're not holding up well with this comp and defense, I'll be honest, which is understandable, like by RQ. Which is understandable. If enemy can move around the chamber, this comp has problems in terms of the stopping power, in terms of, like, this is why Double Drone is kind of weak, the Double Initiator in general is kind of weak. You don't really have enough stopping power. And I think RQ also going to always be a little bit slower, a little bit more out of sync, perhaps, on some of these, like, site holes, all this sort of stuff, than a lot of the mono-language teams in terms of how they fight together, how quickly they respond to information, all this sort of stuff. We don't see this so much as like a distinction in the EMEA or Americas, because the EMEA basically all English-speaking, apart from the Turkish teams, obviously, but a lot of mixed language teams anyway. America's not so many mixed language teams anymore. It's pretty much just Fury, I think, most, because either you're speaking that Portuguese-Spanish mixture or you're speaking English. But this is like a thing in Pacific, right? This is a distinction you do see in Pacific to an extent. And RRQ get back into this map really late on with some good ult plays. Like this was a really nice play, for example, from them, which is again, if you can't fight as well, then you've got to be a lot better in terms of your set plays, in terms of your coordination, like retakes and stuff like that. We see like a really nice one here. This is like a common trapping sort of position for the Sova, where he's waiting for a response, waiting for reaction, because he can potentially hit Shriek and potentially hit 8 at the same time. Goes deep, gets 2 with his ult, and pretty much just stops the exec dead in its tracks. Kind of like Turkish team versus Fnatic right now, in a sense, right? Now, you would kind of expect RRQ to probably win this half on paper, in my opinion. I think they are unlucky, like, going into now the attack for RRQ. I think they are unlucky not to. They lose Pistol and Eco. There are a couple of rounds here and there where we kind of see these micro misplays to an extent, where this is just stuff that happens in a game. This was quite a rough round for them, for example. But they've pushed up here. I mean, they've made it like a bad read here. Cruisers thing, and then they just, yeah. Like, there's obvious miscommunications, obvious stuff that's gone wrong there. And I'm not giving all credit. I'm not giving all blame to ORQ. Full Sense have some good rounds here. But they should, like, Full Sense probably shouldn't have won this map as easily as they did, which was a 13-9 in the end. So, okay, this is what we understand now about both teams. Full Sense, great movement, great momentum team, win their fights, good at timings. RRQ are kind of ramping up later into these games. They do really rely on Jemkin carving out some space. It looks like the swing game's back in their favour. This is what swung the defense back towards them. When they're not being challenged in terms of going into sport, in terms of like the retakes, in terms of post plants, when they've got time to set up, they're really good. But it's clear on like after plants and communication on site and blah blah blah. There's some miscommunication. Now from here we go on to map 2, which is a Haven. We should say also, by the way, that this game was considered to be slightly favoured towards Full Sense, even though Full Sense were 3-0 and RRQ had been pretty badly beaten by T1 the previous week, because I think people just understood this to an extent. But map 2's Haven. Full Sense, Waylay, Deadlock, Omen, Cypher, Sky. They ran this last week. It kind of feels like you're burning down the kitchen a little bit with this one. I really hate the Deadlock and Haven in most situations. I understand like there are anti-considerations to be made for it, but I don't think the meta right now really fits what you're trying, like what Deadlock is good at. And I'm not going to elaborate on that because I don't even know how far I can really elaborate on that without going like super deep. But it doesn't feel like it's good into the meta of like attack comps, for example. I don't really know what it's trying to counter here. And against RRQ's comp, which is just Neon Jets over Cypher Omen, fairly standard apart from the Jet. We don't really see teams run the Jet too often, just because it's a little limited what you can do with attack, but okay, it's not bad at all. Yeah, I don't know what the Deadlock is really doing against RRQ's comp. Now, obviously, they haven't picked it just for RRQ's comp, but it's also not massively good in this meta, in my opinion. And again, in this game, Full Sense, crazy early momentum. They give up first blood on. They give up first blood on their bonus. They just W key up into A and B. They get picks everywhere. They have a good post plant. By the way, it's interesting. Jitboy is Cypher on this map rather than Leviathan, and Leviathan on Omen did like more in the first 2 rounds this map he did the entirety of Pearl. They're kind of throwing him to the wolves by having him play this completely passive, completely useless Cypher. To be honest, they lose, so they win the first 4 rounds. There's comps to this round, so you can go back and check them if you want to. But unfortunately, I don't know what this stands for in terms of monetization, so I'm not going to do it. They lose round 5 after a RRQ timeout. I don't know who calls this. Is it Crazy Guy? Is it Jemkin? Is it coaches? But you can see they suddenly have a much cleaner setup on defense than they did have the first few rounds. It's well executed, works quite well. This is a thing, their ideas aren't bad, it's just perhaps the coordination in the moment can be a little bit of a weakness for RRQ. On the Full Sense side, they stutter a little bit here, obviously. What Full Sense do after this is they immediately sprint B the next 2 rounds. They win 1, they lose 1, and this. I'll show you the round that they win. Sprinting B here, actually. It's good to see it as well. This is their B sprint round. Immediately after, they do like the same round twice in a row. And this is on full gun versus full gun. And here's the thing: this works this time. You're gonna see. And like obviously you have like a very good post. This is what Deadlock does very well. You have these very good post plant setups where you can just put these util on both sides. It's hidden so that they can't really do anything. Like they have to basically they're stopped entirely from going into links off of it potentially. So that is a good thing about the Deadlock, but yeah, I always feel like if you're just running B on this map in general, it's not a good sign for an attack because there's so many things as a defending team you can do to either try and hold this site or more relevantly to collapse on it. Basically, collapsing from both links, collapsing from garage, flanking on the thing. You have like 4 different angles you can attack this site from, and they're all very compressed. So it's very difficult for an attacking team to consistently get value attacking B. The Deadlock util, obviously you see that is like a reason to do it. But that always worries me. And from here, it's kind of... They get suddenly weaker over time. Full Sense is cooling throughout this half. It's very fast. It's very basic. They're getting plants done every round. They are usually not in position to win the post plant because they can't figure out a way, like, because of the economy scaling up on RRQ side, they get both Odin and Alt by the end of this half. Like, they're running both at the same time. And they can't, either they can't flash out enemy Odin or they can't flash out enemy Alt. Flash out, right? Not flash out, but also flash out. And RRQ get this all the way back to 7 after being 5-1 down at the half. And move on to defense side. They lose Pistol this time, Full Sense. They lose anti-eco. They do get an assist here from the comp. Obviously, you are running Deadlock Cypher, you are running Double Sentinel. That is traditionally a CT-sided comp. Deadlock Cypher stops everything. Whaley has 3 peaks wherever she wants. This is not a comp that's easy to game plan around, let's say this. You just play the full round out a lot of the time, you need to find util. You might be able to get back first wave of some of this, like first wave of some of the util with Neon and Omen, but it's a lot harder than it seems, right? Because you just layer it up. And Full Sense kind of bring this back for a bit. It should get to 9-9. This round is a RQ win, but it should not have been an RQ win. It's a good illustration of the difficulty of playing against this comp as the attacking team. So you can see here. Like Egypt's able to hang out here, get the double Odin, just do that with the Odin. They get some good trades back. I think, to be honest, Kilowatt kind of trolled in terms of how he's playing that early on, and Leviathan is trolling how he's playing here because even with him getting the kill, he's given up so much of his position, he's given so much of this stuff, right? He does the thing on top, but they don't really have a way to... it's hard for them to get back into the site with the util they have, which is nothing, it's just a one smoke. Midget Boys just gets caught lacking there, and yeah. That's the thing you can get. This is like a pretty mess retake. But the point is also it shows the difficulty of getting onto site for the attacking comp at the same time. There's timeout. After the timeout, Full Sense, who have been playing pretty modestly to this point already, they start playing like full on for retake. They're just hiding. They're just playing full on for the retake at this point, which is... I'll show you a good example around here. Like, look at this round for an instance. 10-10. Like Leviathan trolls here. For me, it's like full on just trying to get one and trying to get out. They are positioned in a way where it's like a very slow rotate over into here. Pumi starts playing these like weird ass bass angles, backside on C, all this sort of stuff. And yeah. Like they're basically, my point here is Full Sense are kind of gifted a little bit in terms of their comp, in terms they should be able to defend against this RQ team, and it gets to the point where they just start being unable to. The RQ just basically literally hit C like 4 times in a row after this. Every single one they just hit for C. They always get the bomb down, and they start basically gambling with the fact that, okay, we know you can retake this, we think we can beat your retake. And as it happens, they start beating the retake. Because turns out it's not impossible to beat a retake on that thing. And the last one, they go on for an A contact, basically. Anyway, so RRQ have pretty much pulled something out here a little bit. They've managed to down bad in the first half where they should be winning. They get back to 7 and they somehow managed to bring it back on their attack. Okay, all good. Didn't really learn anything new about either of those teams. I mean, RRQ, good adaptation, I'd say. Full Sense. Seeing the same problem with regards to when they get momentum, they're scary, but once they lose that momentum, it's kind of hard for them to get it back because they're good, but they're not that good. And the adjustments they made in the timeouts were not the best, perhaps. Now we're going to Fracture, map 3. And here's the problem. Fracture is not close at all. It is an absolute demolition job. 13-3. Now, Full Sense are on the comp they showed against Sato, which is Waylay Neon Sky. I will note here, this is post-nerf Waylay. This is the first week that they've been playing with post-nerf Waylay in APAC, I believe. I don't know why Full Sense are sticking with the way they were. It seems like a fundamentally like poor Premier agent, honestly. Like the way this guy is good because he's able to essentially take these weird peaks, take like good with stuff like the Phoenix, good stuff with like I would probably argue the Jets, where I mean how you define movement agent gets kind of like dicey, kind of blurred at some point, right? But like he's good at taking his time. He's good at like being very aggressive, basically getting into spawn, getting these surprise timings on sites on mid, all that sort of stuff. That's a very good, big, important Premier thing. Obviously, like he's famous for the Premier peak, which is you just swing out, you crouch at the right moment, and you get like a very good peak onto somebody, like as a dry swing. That's the stuff that Premier is good at traditionally. I don't know why Full Sense are sticking with the Waylay when it just seems like a bad agent for him, or whatever. The interesting part of this map is the Veto. RQ using Veto on this map. I don't love Veto in general. I think he has a lot of potential. I think this is a kind of a shit meta for him because there's not enough stuff that he's swallowing up, essentially. There aren't enough teams making like big execs on sites where he can get 2 or 3 abilities with his thing. He kind of seems like a worse chamber a lot of the time, but they make it look really, really good on this map here, and I want to show you exactly what I mean. Like how they were getting the use of it, because it's not not massively complex, but it is really like, well done. So this was they lose a pistol, RQ win the force back, and it changes the entire map for them. Now look where he is. Look where his util is. He has actual legitimate cross map util. That's a huge part of this. Stops any sort of flank essentially from there. I also want you to watch what happens in progress. So they get inside pretty cleanly here. They just get like a pick. I believe it's on. Is it on Primrose on Sky? They didn't actually get a pick. They got that's why they get a pick. Right, they get onto site here. They got a 45 retake. Goes down to a 3v3. Yeah, playing 2v3 on the retake in the end. They gave up a pick around here. That's what I'm thinking of. Anyway, but look where. Go back a second. You're smoking very close here. Generally, teams don't like to make smokes like this because of the threats of enemies using it against you, right? This is all stuff that works very well like ranked, can work very well like for example ranked. Doesn't really work in pro play, doesn't really work in high level play because you put these smokes down, enemies are just gonna be like, great, we'll play any smokes, we'll flash you back. But look what we have up here. He's put up an interception on way, which means they can't flash through the smokes. They have to basically back off, and they could play in the smokes still technically. But in practice, they have to kind of back off and come back. Because obviously, Kush is dead here, but you could also flash through the smokes yourself, right? That's kind of the powerful thing about Veto with regards to how it can change the... If the interceptors are done right, it can kind of change the landscape of the map a little bit like this. It's all very well put together, anyway, the whole setup here, and you can obviously always say 2v3, you have worse guns, but look how far back Forsen's been forced to play here. And they get, like, they don't waste, yeah, and then they just, who smokes of these? That's crazy. Yeah, that's Cruz smoking close, right? The Cruz trolls a little bit here, to be fair. But this setup to get on site like this was very, very good in the first place. Yeah, like Cruz Night trolls hard here. And the use of smoke stone was good. And this is the thing that defines this entire game, right? RRQ don't really do anything massively special here. They're like rushing first few rounds. They're pretty much holding us 5 ways with Veto just to cover flanks. They're not able to, but they're able to like close smoke and not care because of the Veto for enemy flashes. And I feel like on this map, if you can get onto the site cleanly, you just win post plants as the attacking team. Double flank timings are slow as hell, so if you have anything to basically stop them cross map, then they're not going to be able to do them. I mean, this is why the Veto util being global is quite important for this. And if you just outspeed them, therefore, it's GG. They don't have enough time to really retake because either they have to try and force a retake through mid, in which case that's pretty easy to stop, or they have to like send someone for a long flank, in which case they're not going to get there in time. And I can show you the whole half here, but it's frankly the same for every round. Say for a couple where Veto really makes his bacon here, he pulls out the attack orb, he just slows the game down slightly, and he just like he just waits for basically for sense to screw up. This was a good example. 1-9 up at this point. Guns versus attack orb. Attack Corps is just hanging out here. Wilson's just running around headless completely. Just roams up. He has like the... Yeah, just gets a kill. TP's back. Gets another kill. Gets traded, but then gets traded back. On the full sense side, to be fair, I kind of get that this might just be a map that they suck at fundamentally, because like this full sense team is like timing, like spawn timing the team. Like I said, there's a reason we talk about Primy Peaks. But there's more than him. It's like Cruz is good at this as well, I would say. I mean, Jip Boys is on Neon, so you're automatically good at it. They're really good at basically creating timings that quote unquote don't exist and kind of overwhelming you on the basis of that. Like when they're rolling, swing in, take space, take everything, shoot you in the head, blah blah. When you were expecting it, blah blah blah. But to do that, you basically need like a lot of like corners you can jump. You need a lot of people who are holding like pixel angles that you can then just find a way to skip past. That's the sort of thing you need for that sort of playstyle to be effective. And to be fair, I don't feel like there's much of that in Fracture. Like lines are not massively long in most cases, but they're not short either. Obviously, the longest line is B down to here, right? But for the most part, they're not that short. They're not that long, but they're not that short either. There aren't, like, you're exposed like a lot of times, like 2 or 3 angles whenever you try and do these hop throughs on stuff, which is not always the case on other maps. And it's just not much of the stuff that they're able to exploit in terms of their move, in terms of their basic ability to take timings on Fracture. And against Vita, there's definitely none, because you can't just like wait for their stuff or put your stuff down and just flash away their util out of the stuff. You'll just get caught. And like this map, like I said, this map isn't close. Basically, there's only one half to it, and full sense ultimately lose, I believe, 13-3. Yeah, 13-3. RIQ get the pistol even, full sense get a good eco off, but there's not enough there in the game at that point. So, what do we think? What have we learned about both teams? Full sense's side. Bearing in mind these came in as one of the only teams, along with T1, who haven't dropped a map yet in franchising this stage 1. They looked like they're not Paper Tiger completely, I don't think. Obviously, that 6-0 record, that undefeated record, that won every map, boosted by playing against 3 of the worst 5 teams in franchising, arguably. Barrel, Zeta, and BFM. It does feel like this is a team that potentially could be quite abused on like multiple axes. And while there's always the risk of them momentuming you, which I think is very similar to, well, I use the example of the Turkish teams, right? Eternal Fire, Foot, BBL, all these teams, I mean, less so BBL, because BBL have a lot of structure outside of this, but these teams are like, rely on the time with a lot of momentum to really abuse you. And that's really hard to play against, particularly in the regular season. If you're good enough to basically play against them, you're good enough, like if you're just a decent team, who are well structured, feels like particularly once you get to playoffs, you shouldn't be losing 3 maps against them. You should be taking 2 out of 3 maps every time against them. So I wouldn't be too confident on these guys going into playoffs. We'll see if I'm wrong on that, but I can see some holes in there immediately. Now, RRQ looked very bad against T1. I don't know. I would assume most people have sort of watched that game because it's quite a hyped up game, I think, in APAC. I was going to do a piece on the podcast about it. I didn't do it in the end. In any case, they had a good bounce back here. There's always a question with RRQ wherein APAC fans hate them because they do well regionally and then they just fail horribly against international competition. I think, in fairness, that's a little bit unfair to them. If we go through their record, they have this record basically as international chokers. Let's look at who they've actually played. MIBR. Get destroyed by MIBR. At the time, everyone thought MIBR was just an awful team. In retrospect, they obviously finished 5th and 6th at this champs. There was no argument between maybe a top 3, top 4 team at this champs as a whole in terms of just quality. They came in super underrated. They were actually really, really good. Looks better in retrospect. Fnatic came 2nd at the tournament. Only, yours truly could stop this Fnatic team from winning a champions. But obviously, I'm saying good team. Yeah. EWC, which we pretend doesn't exist, but it did happen, to be fair. Heretics won the entire tournament. You can argue how strong they were, but they were a good format tournament. NRG. Again, we weren't in champs form by that tournament by any means, but people underestimate how good we were at the tournament. I think we were a top 5 team. We finished 5th to 8th overall, and we were on the come up at that point. We were like unlucky, not unlucky, but we lost to Gen G in like quite bad circumstances. Happens. Tokyo, Fnatic, top 2 team. Wolves make that miracle run. The Wolves one, obviously, you can say is a little bit dicey because Wolves done nothing after that tournament, right? But actually, they've had a really bad. Oh, they sold everything for that. But at that tournament, they beat Heretics, they beat Billy, they beat Gen G. We can argue how like amazing of a run that was in reality, but they got top 3 at that tournament, right? Now, to be fair, the way these tournaments work, you're always going to be losing to tight teams who finish in the top 3. But RRQ have not had as many like disastrous results internationally as people seem to think. I do get the feeling this team may be a little bit capped, though. With that being said, a long time with a lot of the same guys now. I believe Crazy Guy came in just. Well, I think Crazy Guy. He's the last change on this team. Apart from obviously they changed Jovian as head coach. Yeah, Crazy Guy was last before this team started going to international regularly. Crazy Guy was the last player change. Nats was also there for like the Singaporean Nats or Indonesian Nats rather was there for like a week as well. To be fair, but yeah, they brought in Jovi basically. That was like the big change of the off season. But they've had the same core for a while now. There is something it does feel like there's missing in terms of fluidity in this team in stressful situations. Maybe this can get better in terms of how Jovi and how Warbirds are working things on the coaching side. Not impossible for a team to progress and become better in this thing. I think it'll be a blessing for them not have to play Neon because they don't seem to have like a Neon player. Monyet Neon looks very unimpressive, very, very unimpressive. And if you remember him back in the days when he was like, he was on Paper X, he was like a hyped up prospect before that. I think on G, that never really seemed like his game. I don't really get like he never really seemed like the guy who would be good on Neon, to be honest. But I think no Neon will be a blessing for him. This is probably still too fighty of a meta for them to be really, really good at London because I think this is a team that would excel. Like they're like a champs meta team. They're a team that wants a slower, wants a more strategic macro meta. The question with RQ, I guess, is do they get to London? The problem is they're obviously they're better than they showed last week. I don't know who I really favour them against in playoffs this time. I think honestly their best case is probably they get PRX. I can see them winning the PRX matchup just on the basis of prep on experience in terms of PRX still being a less fighty team somehow than a lot of the Korean teams at this point. And then they get T1 in the upper finals. They just like somehow want to get a win off of T1 because I don't think they can get full sense. I don't think it's mathematically possible for them to be 3 seed in this group and for full sense to be 1st seed. That would be like the dream scenario in my mind. But yeah, hope we learned a lot about both teams.
All right. Thank you, Pipson, for coming on. It's honestly been an amazing episode. And then, yeah, thank you. Any last words?
Thank you for inviting. And if you'll need to invite me more, you can always message me, and we'll find out how we can see each other and be up a little bit.
All right. Cut that.